into consideration today. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Elizabeth Smart's family says their number one priority is making sure no other children get hurt. Ed Smart, Elizabeth's father, says Barzee can't be allowed to use excuses like "God told me to" get into children-focused spaces like parks.
If she gets the ankle bracelet put back on her and continues to violate that, then she should go back to jail.
He says what's most important is making sure she has no other opportunities to harm other children. KSL's top national stories: protests in Ohio over a recent high school graduate in Cincinnati facing deportation to Honduras. 19-year-old Emerson Colendez came to the U.S. with his family 10 years ago seeking asylum. He spoke to ABC affiliate WCPO from jail.
Which is awful. We only go out once a day or twice a day sometimes for a limited time.
The protest outside the jail in Butler County, Ohio, resulted in at least one arrest. That protester has not yet been charged. The police presence is high in Los Angeles today after a weekend of violence in response to federal immigration raids.
There are a couple of planned rallies here today, but they're early in the day by design so that when they end, the crowds can leave before the sun goes down. The question will be tonight, a Monday night versus a weekend, if things will just naturally calm down. People have school, they have work, and with no big marches or protests planned late in the day, or if the crowds, and honestly those who come out to create trouble, make their way out again tonight.
That's ABC's Alex Stone reporting. In the meantime, California's governor has announced a lawsuit over the decision to send National Guard troops into L.A. without his approval.
Newsom writes that this order doesn't apply just to California, that this would allow the president to go into any state and do the same thing. And we've heard from other Democratic governors who joined Newsom in calling on the president to rescind this order to send in the National Guard, saying that this oversteps the president's bounds here.
That's ABC's Karen Travers reporting. A prominent activist was detained and told to leave Israel after Israeli forces seized an aid boat bound for Gaza earlier this morning. ABC's Jordana Miller reports.
Before this war, there was a Turkish ship that tried to break the blockade, and it turned into a very deadly incident with 10 killed, even some Israeli soldiers killed. This time, thankfully, it was a peaceful interception of the flotilla. Greta Thunberg and the other another dozen activists told to leave the country.
The activists were protesting the restrictions on humanitarian aid going into the Gaza Strip. A plane carrying 6 people bound for Phoenix crashed off the coast of San Diego. The Coast Guard is searching for wreckage in the debris field in water that's about 200 feet deep. The plane was registered to an Arizona-based healthcare company. We have a tragic update on the 14-year-old girl hit by a car in Lehigh last weekend. Her family has confirmed with KSL she died from her injuries over the weekend. The girl, identified as Jenna Sharp, had severe head trauma from the accident and had not shown any signs of consciousness in the past week. The lieutenant governor says a pilot program to involve more students in volunteering statewide has had a successful first year. LG Deidre Henderson tells KSL News Radio's Inside Sources how it works.
We have 5 LEAs, or 4 school districts and 1 statewide charter school, who have volunteered to be part of this 3-year pilot program. And the goal is for every high school student, well, eventually throughout the state, but right now in these 5 school districts, every high school student to participate in some way in volunteering.
Henderson says the students are learning to love others, themselves, and their communities through volunteering. First Look Traffic, here's Ricky Meese.
Cleanup of a crash on southbound Bangerter Highway approaching the 21st South Freeway. That's affecting the right lane. Also on the northbound side, officers are blocking off that inside left lane at the crash site. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
A new home for Inside Sources.
I'd say give us a try. My name is Greg Skordas.
Hello, this is Holly Richardson.
Give us that opportunity to tell you what we know and to share your thoughts with us.
Inside Sources, now weekday mornings 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
At Cadillac, we believe true luxury isn't just about craftsmanship, it's about innovation. That's why we created a luxury line of electric SUVs, including the best-selling Lyriq, the all-new Optic, and the Escalade IQ, the first fully electric full-sized SUV. You can travel over 400 miles on a single charge. So come get your dream car and see exactly why driving a Cadillac is like no other driving experience. Visit Jerry Seiner Cadillac and experience the Seiner difference today.
Advanced Window Products. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. Affordable windows. Guaranteed.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
One of the two people convicted of kidnapping Elizabeth Smart was back in court today on charges she violated the sex offender registry rules. KSL News Time 12:08. The Weber County Sheriff's Office says a K-9 officer died over the weekend. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Their K-9 named Nova was just about to turn 2 years old, and she had been training to detect illegal drugs and doing quite well, according to the Weber County Sheriff's Department's Facebook page. But on Saturday, they say she had an unexpected medical condition and she passed away. Now, they haven't given any more details other than saying she was loved and will not be forgotten.
Nova joined the Sheriff's Office team last November. A first-of-its-kind festival is coming to Utah. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly has the exclusive story.
The Eden Arts Festival will eventually combine music, film, AI technology, and nature into an 8-week festival within a few years.
Right now, we're actually finalizing a partnership between one of the top film schools in the country, based in Los Angeles, as well as a major music school.
That's the founder and CEO, Julia Leviton, who says this year will be a micro festival with 2 concerts at the Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park tomorrow and Thursday, with a 3rd concert later this summer at Thanksgiving Point. The long-term goal of Eden Arts Festival is to create a venue that's already in the initial planning stages where artists can reside year-round and generate $130 million for Utah. Heather Kelly, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards Credit Card Promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
For those traveling Bangerter Highway in West Valley, we still have the clearing of this crash just north of the 201 junction at the intersection of 1820 South. On the southbound side where the accident occurred, the tow truck is there. That right lane is still blocked. On the northbound side, officers are blocking off the inside left lane of traffic. You will see some backups on the southbound side, not as much on the northbound side. Also, northbound I-15 at the point of the mountain, a single vehicle accident. This is out of traffic over to the left shoulder. However, we have not had emergency crews or UHP arrive yet. And some leftover slowdowns southbound I-15 going from the Kaysville Ponds towards Farmington. Garden City, Utah, in beautiful Bear Lake, presents Little Texas on July 5th at Garden City Heritage Park. Games, live music, and a fireworks show, all free. Visit bearlake.org for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll be running well above the normal today. Look for sunshine and a high of 92. 65 overnight, mostly clear skies. Bouncing back to 94 tomorrow. Partly cloudy and a slight chance for a pop-up storm. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now, it's 85 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Coming up on Middays, we'll check in with the Lieutenant Governor on how Utah is doing when it comes to domestic violence response. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com, and that's on the app for KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The heat is on, and if you're not so excited about wearing your shorts or your swimsuit and you want to think about losing weight, but you've been looking at all these programs and you just can't decide which one is best, I want to tell you about Salt Lake City Fat Loss. I have lost more than 40 pounds with this great program, 25 pounds of that in the first 60 days. It basically resets your metabolism with just a simple combination of foods. It's all natural. There are no medications, no injections, no surgeries. So you don't have to worry about any sort of side effects. And it's less expensive than other programs because there are no prepackaged meals or other products that you are required to buy. And they give you great inspiration daily with their app. And also, it keeps you accountable. You can save $200 right now at saltlakeCityFatLoss.com, or you can call 801-450-1882. SLCFatLoss.com, SLCFatLoss.com.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part 1 in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Huge spike in your water bill? You might have a leak in your culinary or secondary water line. Utah Utility Pro repairs stop and waste and pressure release valves. Visit utahutilitypro.com.
KSL News Time at 12:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
one of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers from more than 20 years ago stood before a judge in Salt Lake City this morning to face new charges. On KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, St. George and Washington County officials are looking at ways to clean up wastewater enough that it could be used for drinking. Third, traffic and weather together.
Almost clear, not quite yet. This is in West Valley. An earlier crash on southbound Bangerter Highway in the right lane at 1820 South at the intersection just before the 201 junction. But the good news is on the northbound side, officers have opened up that left lane of traffic. Ricky Meeson, the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunshine and 90s today, but a couple of more clouds tomorrow. I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now it's 85 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After a weekend of escalating violence in Los Angeles neighborhoods over federal immigration raids, President Trump lashing out at California's Governor Gavin Newsom, saying he isn't doing enough.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows.
Governor Newsom planning to sue the Trump administration, he says, saying state and local police were in control. The governor says Trump's decision to mobilize the National Guard fueled some of that unrest. Police presence ramping up in Los Angeles, meantime, ahead of more rallies and protests today. ABC's Alex Stone is in L.A.
There are a couple of planned rallies here today, but they're early in the day by design so that when they end, the crowds can leave before the sun goes down. The question will be tonight, a Monday night versus a weekend, if things will just naturally calm down. People have school, they have work, and with no big marches or protests planned late in the day, or if the crowds and honestly those who come out to create trouble make their way out again tonight.
A new travel ban went into effect today, a full ban for 12 countries and a partial ban for 7 other nations. ABC's Matt Rivers is in Mexico City with more.
What the Trump administration is saying here is that these are countries with either a history of terrorism, whether they have histories of high rates of visa overstays. These are countries that were investigated by the State Department and found to be worthy of being included in this ban. Of course, there's going to be challenges in court, just like we saw during the first Trump administration.
A major egg recall after a salmonella outbreak across multiple states. Here's ABC's Rebecca Jarvis with more.
The California-based August Egg Company is recalling 1.7 million brown organic and brown cage-free eggs distributed across 9 different states. The eggs are linked to a salmonella outbreak that sickened 79 people. 21 of them have been hospitalized, but thankfully no deaths have been reported there.
On Wall Street, stocks are on a rally heading into afternoon trading. You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. 2 years after the state started mandating lethality assessments on domestic violence calls, the numbers show about 1 in 5 of these calls involve repeat offenders. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson was on Inside Sources today with Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson.
You know, after my cousin Mandy was gunned down, brutally murdered by her ex-husband in August of 2022, in the next legislative session in 2023, we did pass this lethality assessment protocol legislation that required all law enforcement entities to conduct a lethality assessment when they go to a scene of intimate partner violence, no matter where it is, and then kind of compile this database so they have information. Since that went into effect, which was July 1st, 2023, we have had just over 21,000 lethality assessments conducted. Wow. And it's not been quite 2 years yet. So 21,000, and that's number since the end of May. So it's been probably a little bit more since then. And it's been really interesting to see kind of some of the trends. Almost 2/3 of those lethality assessments come back scored at a potentially lethal. So people are at high risk. And now we're starting to see some repeat offenders. 19% of these lethality assessments are recurring people who've had lethality assessments before. And 27% of them are actually on people who had restraining orders or protective orders.
The lieutenant governor says the size of the need for these assessments and the number of assessments that identify people in danger have both surprised her. She says it's encouraging, though, to know that these folks now have access to resources. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are seeing better speeds and all lanes open once again now that the crash has been cleared at Bangerter Highway, just north of the 201 junction. The one single vehicle crash that we had in the Bluffdale area, northbound I-15 near the point of the mountain, also no longer a factor. If you're traveling southbound I-15 through Davis County, we have had slowdowns as you go from the Kaysville Ponds down to the Highway 89 merge in Farmington. Whether you park it, stripe it, or pave it, GoPave Utah has your blacktop covered at GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast going hot for the next 7. 92 today. Sunshine going to 94 tomorrow. Partly cloudy and just a 20% chance for a stray pop-up. We'll do a similar deal, partly cloudy, stray pop-up on Wednesday, 95. 92, sunshine, a touch cooler on Thursday. Mostly sunny on Friday, 95. We'll then go 96, mostly sunny on Saturday. Sunday, downright hot, 97. Mostly sunny skies. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now it's 85 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. The 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Coming up on Midday at 1, we'll go in depth on the return of one of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers to court.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right, it's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain, and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
KSL News Time 1224. Warner Brothers Discovery will soon be Warner Brothers and Discovery as the company splits up operations.
Continued cord cutting has led Warner Brothers Discovery to split itself into two independent companies, one focusing on cable and the other on streaming. On the streaming side will be HBO, HBO Max, Warner Brothers Television and Motion Picture Group, and DC Studios. The cable company will include CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery, and digital products like Discovery Plus and Bleacher Report.
That's ABC's Sherry Preston reporting. Watching Utah's money, Chinese exports to the U.S. fell 34.5% from a year ago. CNBC reports that that's the sharpest drop since February 2020. Exports actually went up in the last month, 4.8% from a year ago. Online retailer Shein is trying to curb President Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods by expanding operations in India. Reuters reports the company's goal is to increase suppliers from 150 to 1,000 within a year. Xbox is trying to take advantage of the Nintendo Switch 2 craze by revealing a new handheld console. The ROG Xbox Ally is expected to be released by the end of the year. No word on what it will cost. Your money at this moment. Let's take a look at the markets. Things are in the green. The Dow up 120 points. The S&P gaining 19 points. The NASDAQ up 88 points. A major egg recall after a salmonella outbreak that has sickened dozens of people across multiple states at a time when eggs have finally started to become affordable again. ABC News chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis reports.
Prices have come down a lot. The cost right now of a dozen eggs is about $2.63, and the good news here is 1.7 million, almost 2 million eggs is relatively small compared to the total eggs we produce. Shouldn't drive prices much higher unless it gets to be a bigger recall.
The recall affects 1.7 million brown, organic, and cage-free eggs distributed by California's August Egg Company.
I'm Holly Richardson.
My name is Greg Skordas. Listen for the new Inside Sources.
One of the things that people don't realize about Utah politics, at the state legislative level, there's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of working together for the good of Utah. Inside Sources, weekdays from 9 to noon.
This is a show that a person could listen and learn something every day and say, you know what, I didn't know that this morning at 9, but I know it now. Inside Sources.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
The #1 rodeo in Utah is back, and it's a big one. The Western Stampede, celebrating 70 years. July 3rd through 5th. Rodeo, fireworks, carnival rides, a grand parade, and more. Come experience the legacy of one of Utah's most beloved rodeos. That's excitement and fun for the whole family. Celebrate this historic Western Stampede. It's an event you won't want to miss. Get your tickets now at westernstampede.com. Presented by Common Spirit.
Emergency medical unit, respond to 102 Maple Avenue. Possible stroke victim.
When stroke occurs, you have 60 minutes to win or lose the race of your life. There are new treatments, but you must get to a hospital fast. If you suddenly feel weakness on one side, have trouble speaking, walking, or seeing, it could be a stroke. Call 911. Get to a hospital. Because how you spend the next 60 minutes could determine how you spend the rest of your life. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
KSL News Time 1229. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a crash-free commute on the Valley freeways and main secondaries, but not delay-free. We still have slowdown southbound on I-15 going from the Kaysville Ponds into Farmington. Now, this is a stretch where they have been doing overnight road closures for construction work. They're supposed to open up at 11 a.m. each morning, but right now we're still seeing a slow ride. Every day, your local Salvation Army is there doing the most good fighting hunger, homelessness, and hardship. Donate today at 160years.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hey, blue skies and hot temperatures today. Look for a high of 92, which is running 10 above the normal. 65 in the overnight, mostly clear skies. Going partly cloudy with a 20% chance for a pop-up on Tuesday afternoon, hot high of 94. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now, we've already gotten to 85 degrees, and it's sunny here in Salt Lake City.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Shilaos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time 1230. KSL's top story this hour. Police say a man who stole a backpack from the Delta Sky Club could face serious charges after they say he tried to grab an officer's gun. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live with the story. Eric?
Britt, officers say Joseph Johnson took a backpack from the club with around $4,000 worth of items inside and refused to give it back. When police caught up with him, they say he got aggressive, pushing his luggage into them and trying to walk off in cuffs. Then police say Johnson grabbed for the officer's gun, yanking it hard enough to lift the belt. Officers say they had to use force, put Johnson in a wrap restraint, and physically carry him out, all while he kept fighting and slamming his head against the patrol car plexiglass. He's been booked on suspicion of theft, intoxication, and trying to disarm an officer. Live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
One of the two people who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart more than 20 years ago was back in court this morning to face new charges. Wanda Barzee is accused of going to two different Salt Lake City parks, which violates her terms as a registered sex offender. Elizabeth Smart herself spoke out about the arrest last month on her foundation's Instagram page.
I feel like I've been vocal about my concerns since Barzee's initial release, and this incident confirms exactly why.
Smart's other kidnapper, Brian David Mitchell, is serving a life sentence in federal prison. Barzee has been charged with 2 misdemeanors. KSL's top national stories. California is getting ready to sue President Trump again, this time for using a rare move to send the National Guard into Los Angeles without the governor's approval.
Today, Governor Gavin Newsom announcing California will be suing President Trump over his deployment of National Guard troops here under Title 10, allowing him to federalize them. Newsom alleges Trump illegally federalized the troops and that the order he signed does not only apply to California, but that the order allows Trump to send troops into any state. Every Democratic governor in the U.S. is signed onto a letter calling it an illegal use of authority.
That's ABC's Alex Stone reporting from Los Angeles. About 500 people protested outside a jail in a Cincinnati suburb this weekend, where ICE has detained a recent high school graduate facing deportation to Honduras. His mother says Emerson Calendez came to the U.S. with his family 10 years ago in search of asylum.
Please, Mr. Trump, because I'm talking directly to you, have pity on us. Have compassion.
One person was arrested and accused of assault in the protests there. The NBA Finals are all tied up after the Thunder beat the Pacers in Oklahoma City last night. The best-of-7 series is now knotted up at 1 game apiece. The series will now shift to Indiana. Game 3 is on Wednesday. A Seattle man is behind bars, charged in a string of burglaries at the home of prominent, current, and former football and baseball players for the city's pro teams. Earl Riley faces several counts of burglary and robbery, including thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and handbags from Seattle Mariners Luis Castillo and Julio Rodriguez.
It's really concerning when you have that alleged behavior to say that they were going after people knowing that they were vulnerable.
Riley is also accused of stealing several watches worth more than $100,000 from former Seahawk Richard Sherman. He's been held on $1 million bail. A man was rescued this weekend after he fell while rappelling above Alpine in the Three Fall Trail area. Emergency responders say his thigh was impaled with a stick during the fall. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. A construction project to expand biking and pedestrian pathways through the city is moving forward. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
It's part of the Green Loop project, a 5.5-mile-long trail system that would also create designated green space downtown. There was concern after some legislation passed this year requiring the mayor's office to work with UDOT before any construction work begins. But Blake Thomas, the senior advisor on real estate and capital projects for the mayor's office, says that's no problem at all.
We intend to work within those parameters and have a strong historic relationship with UDOT.
UDOT echoed similar feelings, saying the department is glad to be working with the city to help create something that best fits the area. The mayor's office is looking at the next step in the process that includes allocating $3 million in the budget to start construction. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Lehigh is getting a second zip code. The U.S. Postal Service is creating one for the northern part of the city as it continues to grow. A map of the zip code is not out yet, but we know it will be on both sides of I-15. It will be in use starting July 1st. A new festival is coming to northern Utah. Founder and CEO Julia Levitin spoke exclusively with KSL News Radio and says the concept for the Eden Arts Festival is unlike anything seen before.
The big idea with the Eden Festival is it's the first festival in the world, really, to unite film, music, immersive technology, and gaming into a single family-friendly event.
Levitin says the festival kicks off with 2 concerts at the Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park tomorrow and Thursday. Next year, it will run for 2 weeks and bring in around $130 million within 5 years. First look traffic, here's Ricky Meese.
A crash-free drive on the Valley freeways, but not delay-free. It is slow southbound I-15 coming from Kaysville into Farmington. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:35.
This show's going to be different.
The new Inside Sources.
We have the desire to help you understand the issues that are impacting you on your family level. Hi, I'm Holly Richardson.
My name is Greg Skortis.
Join Inside Sources this week, 9 to noon
on KSL News Radio.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. It is time for our annual spring clearance sale at Arctic Spas. Tons of hot tubs, swim spas, all-weather pools, saunas, and cold tubs all on sale at up to $7,500 off. Yes, up to $7,500 off. Just in time for the summer fun to begin. Plus, we have a few models left over from last year, like an Arctic Spa Polaris, a 7-foot by 7-foot with 40 massaging jets, 2 pumps, ozone water purification, UV water purification, multicolored LED lights, and a waterfall, now discounted to $89.95. Swim spas starting out at $19,995. This brings a pool to your backyard all year long, but especially for the family fun this summer. Comfort and convenience is on sale with our automated saltwater system. Or save even more with almost new refurbished Arctic Spas from years past. Start out online at arcticspasutah.com to pick out your favorite spa. Then stop by one of our 3 Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah: Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about: your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are 2 very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Police say a man accused of stealing a backpack at the airport could face serious charges after they say he tried to grab an officer's gun. KSL News Time at 12:38. You've heard of drinking from a fire hose. Well, within the next 25 years, southern Utah residents could be drinking something different: reclaimed wastewater.
By 2050, the city has estimated they will need almost twice the amount of water used now. Washington County Water Conservation District Program Manager Morgan Drake says they plan to use the water currently being flushed down the drains.
Let us use all of our local resources. It will keep our water in Washington County, and the cycle we were talking about, we can use our water again and again, keep it in Washington County, and be really drought resilient.
She says right now they're currently able to use a decent amount of water for golf courses and lawns, but in the later part of the 2030s, they anticipate being able to have water clean enough for people to drink. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
The Syracuse, Utah Temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was dedicated yesterday afternoon by President Russell M. Nelson. President Nelson said that Syracuse is known to produce valiant youth, strong families, and saints who are willing to let God prevail in their lives. The temple was announced back in 2020 with the groundbreaking in 2021. Other new temples under construction in Utah are Ephraim, Heber Valley, Linden, and Smithfield. The Syracuse Temple is the 24th dedicated temple here in Utah. An off-duty firefighter was able to jump into action when he spotted smoke coming from a historic home in American Fork. Unified firefighter Justin Propkis was walking with his son when he saw smoke, called 911, and then started knocking doors to make sure no one was inside. Unified Fire Authority's Kelly Bird says thanks to I'm messing up his name, Propkopis, the emergency crews knew exactly what to expect before they arrived.
We think about what would happen if I was off duty and I were to come across something. What would I do to respond to that?
No people were in the home, but some pets did not make it out. Crews are still investigating what started the fire. KSL News Time, 12:40. Traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
For those who are traveling southbound I-15 in Davis County, it is a slow roll going from the Kaysville Ponds down to Lagoon in Farmington. Now, you're moving, you're just not moving at the posted limit, and we've not seen that it is going to be changing anytime soon. So just be prepared if you're traveling southbound I-15 through that stretch. It may take you just a couple of extra minutes. All of your Salt Lake County freeways and main secondaries are clear. Take UTA instead of driving and actually enjoy your ride. Try UTA to see the difference. Plan your trip at rideuta.com or on the Transit app. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
I'm forecasting some beautiful blue skies today. Sunshine, hot, 92, running 10 above the normal. 65 overnight, mostly clear skies. We'll go to 94 tomorrow afternoon with a slight chance for a pop-up, but partly cloudy generally. A repeat performance on Wednesday, but a little bit warmer at 95. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now it's 86 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Coming up on Midday, the Bangerter Highway interchange work passed a big milestone this weekend. We'll tell you what it is and what's coming up next. That's coming up, streaming live at kslnewsradio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hey, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse. In today's busy world, your home should be your sanctuary. A peaceful retreat where you can unwind, breathe deeply, and recharge. And what better way to create that haven than with flowers? A pop of color in your flower beds, a cheerful container garden by the front door, or a lush patio filled with vibrant blooms can transform any space into a personal oasis. Flowers don't just brighten up your home, they lift your spirits too. Research even shows that surrounding yourself with plants can reduce stress and boost happiness. At Olson's Greenhouse, we grow premium quality plants that make it easy to bring beauty and joy into your life. Whether you prefer bold, eye-catching colors or soft, soothing pastels, we have the perfect flowers to complement your space. And with locally grown plants, you know they're ready to thrive. This spring, create a sanctuary of color and comfort with flowers from Olson's Greenhouse. Find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens or go to ogg.com to find a retailer near you. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Imagine waking up every morning with a smile you're proud of. No more hiding, no more pain. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's Best of State winner for 3 years in a row, has helped thousands of people ditch the dentures and say goodbye to missing or broken teeth. Their expert team specializes in giving you a permanent, natural-looking smile with dental implants that feel and function just like real teeth. With over 2,000 five-star Google reviews, their patients say it best.
Dental implants gave me my life back. I feel confident again. I feel like I can be myself.
There was no way I was getting dentures. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been the best decision of my life.
Let the expert team at Stubbs Dental help you take the first step to changing your life with dental implants. Schedule your complimentary consultation today, a $350 value, absolutely free. Visit StubbsDental.com today. That's StubbsDental.com. StubbsDental.com.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat. Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
KSL News Time 12:45. The three things you need to know this hour first.
A man accused of stealing a backpack at Salt Lake Airport was arrested after allegedly trying to grab an officer's gun and having to be carried out in a restraint. I'm KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
Second, a Weber County Sheriff's Office canine has died. The department says 2-year-old Nova suffered an unexpected medical complication over the weekend. Third, traffic and weather together.
Kind of quiet on all of your Salt Lake County freeways. Good speeds, no problems. A slow drive southbound I-15 in Davis County as you go from Kaysville into Farmington and your downtown city streets. Seeing a good noon-hour drive with no problems reported. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's nothing but 90s for the next 7 days. I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now, it's 86 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. KSL's top national stories.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After days of volatile protests in Los Angeles over federal immigration arrests, President Trump is defending his decision to mobilize National Guard troops, saying the protesters are professional agitators. California's Governor Gavin Newsom says the president did not have his approval to deploy the National Guard in the state and overstepped his authority. He's now planning to sue. More protests planned for today. ABC's Catherine Folder says the president also appears to support his border czar for more arrests.
All I have really seen Tom Homan say is that he believes that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, if you will, crossed the line in terms of how, in the Trump administration's mind, they have reacted to these protests in L.A.
In California, the search for 6 people on board a plane that crashed near Point Loma in California yesterday continues. FAA records show the plane was registered to Optimal Health Systems. That company, in a statement, is sending condolences to family members. This is ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. West Side commuters got a pleasant surprise headed into work after this weekend. The underpass under the 4700 South on Bagoter is now open. Joining me live is UDOT spokesman John Gleason. John, thanks for joining me.
Hey, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Britt.
It sounds like you've met an exciting milestone. What's the progress looking like?
We're making big progress on all 4 interchanges that are under construction right now. But the big change this past weekend, you just mentioned it, was on 4700 South. Everyone who's driving north or south on Bangerter is now driving under the new bridge there. And then, other big news, about a month or so away in July, we're expecting the east-west travel on 47th to open as well, which will be great news for everyone who lives and works in the Taylorsville, West Valley area.
And how big of a deal is this for commuters? I mean, how much time do you think they'll be able to save?
Well, when all 4 interchanges are completed, we're not going to see any stoplights from I-15, Bangerter on I-15 in the south end of the valley, all the way up to 4100 South. And so that's a lot of free-flowing traffic. You're not going to have to stop at those traffic signals. It's also a safer drive because if you take out those conflict points, those stoplights, then you don't have traffic that's intersecting itself, and you can avoid some of those crashes.
And do you have any other big projects coming up this summer that we should be aware of?
What we do, we're expecting heavy delays in the Davis County area this Saturday and the following Saturday. We're working to build the new Shepherd Lane interchange. I-15 between 200 North and Park Lane in Davis County. It's going to be closed this Saturday and next Saturday night for the demolition of the old Shepherd Lane Bridge. And we're going to be detouring all traffic onto US 89 and Main Street in Kaysville. So that's something that we want people to plan ahead for.
Okay, great. Yeah, it sounds like it might be something to watch out for and add some extra time on the commute. But in the end, it should be a nice big time savings, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The short-term inconvenience for the long-term payoff, Britt.
Perfect. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. I've been talking to UDOT spokesman John Gleason for the KSL In-Depth. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We're enjoying a crash-free noontime drive, but we do have a slow drive southbound I-15 going from Kaysville to Farmington. The rest of the Valley freeways are problem-free. We've seen some real backups and delays southbound on Foothill, and this is between Sunnyside Avenue down to about 1700 South. Part of that is just waiting through the traffic light, but otherwise a nice and quiet commute through the rest of the valley. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast has every single day at least 10 above the normal. We'll go 92 today, sunshine. 94, partly cloudy skies on Tuesday with a slight chance, just a 20% chance for a stray shower. Partly cloudy on Wednesday, 95. We'll drop down to 92 with sunshine on Thursday. Friday, mostly sunny, 95. Then it's mid and upper 90s Saturday and Sunday. Both looks like a hot Father's Day, mostly sunny, 97. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Right now it's 86 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. The 7-day forecast brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on? I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Secret Clinical Dominating Extra Stinky Stress Sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
KSL News Time 12:54. A new study out of BYU looks at why some people are reluctant to embrace artificial intelligence.
It turns out people aren't really worried about generative AI suddenly becoming self-aware and trying to wipe out humanity like in the Terminator movies. Study as reported by BYU News links most people's reluctance to one of four main ideas. The first is a fear that generative AI will create something that is wrong, like what apparently happened recently with a legal brief where the generative AI created cases that didn't exist to support its argument. The second is a worry that using generative generative AI is somehow illegal, dishonest, or unethical, especially when a person passes off the work as his or her own. The third is a fear that generative AI will use personal information, making it unsafe. And finally, the study finds people worry that over time we will lose contact with others. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Watching Utah's money, Apple has officially announced a $20 billion investment in AI, and it's going to Pennsylvania. The tech giant says that this money will go towards AI infrastructure and create 1,300 new jobs and a grant fund supporting STEM and education and sustainability. Half of all six-figure earners have credit card debt, compared to 39% of respondents who make less than $30,000 a year. The study from LendingTree says those higher earners are more likely to lie about their debt. Warner Brothers is splitting into two. Studios and streaming will go one way, which includes HBO Max and all the DC film production, and networks will go the other, CNN and Discovery. Stock jumped up and then dipped before close. KSL drives... Let's see, moving on. The Natural History Museum of Utah is reminding Utahns why mammoths are a cool mascot. By launching the Mysteries of the Ice Ages exhibit this weekend, it has over 120 items from the Canadian Museum of Nature, including mammoths. It will be on display through January of next year.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Repair or replace your roof now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. 12 months interest-free financing. The highest value roofing job in Utah. Dial pound 250 and then say S&S Roofing.
KSL News Time at 12:59. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a new accident. This is actually in Wasatch County on Highway 189. It's by Deer Creek Reservoir. So if you're traveling or going to be traveling Provo Canyon and going between the canyon and Heber City, keep an eye out for this. You'll see that they're trying to get it moved out of traffic over to the right shoulder, so no delay. In the valley, freeway traffic in Salt Lake County is still looking good. Still some leftover busy and slower traffic southbound I-15, Kaysville to Farmington. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the forecast, it's going to be hot this week. We're getting a high of 93 today and then up to 95 for Wednesday. Now, Father's Day. If you haven't already bought your dad one of those personalized neck cooler fans, you know the ones that I'm talking about, it might be the day because it's going to be 97 degrees on Father's Day. Right now, it's 86 degrees in Salt Lake City.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's a name you'll recall hearing a lot more than 20 years ago. Wanda Barzee is back in court today.
One of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers from more than 20 years ago stood before a judge in Salt Lake City this morning to face new charges.
The time is 1 o'clock on Monday, June 9th. It's midday. I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos. Coming up, our legal analyst breaks down the charges, what punishments Barzee may face, and how the charges could be enhanced even more. Also this hour,
every single year, Utah has about 750 incidents out on the road related to unsecured loads.
The message for Utah drivers: tie down your loads this summer. But first, our top stories. One of the people who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart more than 20 years ago was back in front of a judge this morning. KSL News Radio's Adam Small was in the courtroom.
Wanda Barzee walked into the courtroom on her own before the judge heard her case. She now has short white hair and came in this morning with a red shirt, jeans, and sneakers, and spoke to the judge for about 2 to 3 minutes total alongside her attorney. She said very little, just saying her name when asked, and attempted to answer the judge's question on if she was staying in contact with her sex offender case manager, which her attorney answered she was.
Barzee is accused of going to 2 different parks, which violates her terms as a registered sex offender. She's scheduled to be back in court in July. Our top national story from ABC News. Protests over ICE raids continue in Los Angeles today. Governor Newsom announcing a lawsuit over President Trump sending the National Guard into LA without the governor's approval. ABC's Karen Travers is at the White House.
Newsom says that this is purposefully inflammatory and that it only escalates the situation. That memo the president signed over the weekend sends up to 2,000 National Guard members for a period of 60 days. President Trump and Gavin Newsom have a long history of going back and forth on politics and policy issues. This is the next chapter in that long history.
President Trump seemed to back border czar Tom Homan's threat to arrest Governor Newsom.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
Newsom's lawsuit is expected to be filed sometime today. Warner Brothers is splitting into 2. Studios and streamings will go one way, which includes HBO Max, and all the DC film production and networks will go the other, CNN and Discovery. Stock jumped up and then dipped before close. There's been another recall on eggs that could make them harder to find at the store. This time it's because of salmonella and the outbreak that's made dozens of people across multiple states sick. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis has more.
Prices have come down a lot. The cost right now of a dozen eggs is about $2.63, and the good news here is 1.7 million, almost 2 million eggs is relatively small compared to the total eggs we produce. Shouldn't drive prices much higher unless it gets to be a bigger recall.
The California-based August Egg Company is recalling 1.7 million brown organic and brown cage-free eggs distributed across 9 different states. Your money at this moment, taking a look at the markets. All right, things in the green. The Dow gaining 103 points, the S&P up 19, and the NASDAQ has gained 94 points. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have some slowdowns on southbound I-15 going from Kaysville into Farmington, and an accident. This is actually going to be on Highway 189 by Deer Creek Reservoir. No delays. It's out of traffic on the shoulder. Celebrate freedom in Paris, Idaho. 4th of July Chuck Wagon Breakfast and Parade. On the 5th, a 5K run, Junior Rodeo, Craft Vendor Fair, and free concert. Visit bearlake.org for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have highs in the 90s for the next 7 days, so it's going to be a little toasty out there. Right now, it's 86 degrees and sunny from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Stylin'. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
In 6/22/25, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
One of the people who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart more than 20 years ago was back in court today to face new charges. Thanks for tuning in to Midday. I'm Britt Johnson. Maria Shilaos has the day off, so I'm filling in for her. KSL News Radio's Adam Small was in the courtroom when Wanda Barzee stood before a judge.
I actually didn't even realize Barzee walked into the courtroom just after me because her appearance has changed so much since the last photo I saw of her 15 years ago. Barzee, who's now 79 with short, pure white hair, walked into the courtroom on her own with a red shirt, jeans, and sneakers and waited for the judge to call her name. She went up to the podium in front of the judge's seat with her attorney and spoke to the judge for about 2 or 3 minutes. She didn't say much, just her name when asked, then seemed a bit flustered or confused when the judge asked her if she's been keeping in regular contact with her sex offender case manager, which her attorney stepped in and said she was. After they answered the judge's questions and set her next court date, she walked out of the courthouse alongside her attorney. Barzee is facing 2 Class A misdemeanor charges of violating her terms as a registered sex offender. She's accused of visiting 2 different Salt Lake City parks in April and May of this year. Court documents say she told authorities she went because she was, quote, commanded to by the Lord. She's scheduled to appear in front of a different judge on July 21st. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
KSL legal analyst and host of the new Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, tells KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla what Barzee's facing with her new charges.
The charges that Wanda Barzee is facing right now are what we call violation of the sex offender registry. That is to say that she went into a place where she was prohibited to go. Those are, under Utah law, what we call a Class A misdemeanor, the most serious misdemeanor, but it's not a felony. It carries each of them, and she's charged with 2 counts because she went to 2 different parks. Each of them carries up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $2,500.
And Skordas says the charges could be enhanced.
The allegations are that in April this year, she went to 2 Salt Lake City parks, Liberty Park and Sugar House Park, as parks where children often go. Those are restricted areas for people who are on the sex offender registry. So merely going to a park while you're on the sex offender registry is a violation of the provisions of the registry. And so it's one of those crimes that there's really no defense, not much of an excuse to it. If you show up at a park, you are violating the law, and it's a misdemeanor. It's not incredibly serious, but it's a misdemeanor crime. There are provisions that if it continues, it can be enhanced to a felony. She was on parole after she went to prison. She was placed on parole for several years, but she completed that. So this isn't a parole violation. This is a sex offender registry violation. And because her crime involved offenses against a child, she will be on the sex offender registry for her life. It's something that will follow her the rest of her life. It's not 5 years or 10 years, which some registry requirements are. She is on a lifetime registry.
And Skordas says that Barzee's mental health could play a role in her punishment for this arrest.
She claims that she was told by God to go. Obviously, that's not a defense, but it's something that might mitigate her punishment. I mean, clearly, and she has a history of mental health issues. She was actually declared incompetent for some short period of time, and then her competency was restored. So the courts may take that into account and give her some alternative to prison or jail, and put her in some sort of treatment program or maybe even the state hospital. Who knows, if they find that she's a danger to others. Merely showing up at a park doesn't necessarily mean she's a danger to others. But it would still be disconcerting if you were a parent and you saw her at a park and you had your children there.
Now, Elizabeth Smart has been pretty vocal about Wanda Barzee, and especially once Barzee was released from prison. She took to Instagram to share her feelings when Barzee was recently rearrested.
Her justification was that she was commanded by the Lord, which unfortunately is very familiar to me and is probably the most concerning thing because that's how they justified kidnapping me. I feel like I've been vocal about my concerns since Barzee's initial release, and this incident confirms exactly why. This incident highlights exactly why we need to center survivors in our legal processes. We often understand the risk others may overlook, frankly. I urge policymakers and justice officials to view this as a reminder that sex offender registries and release conditions exist for important reasons.
Her father, Ed Smart, has similar issues, worrying that allowing someone like Barzee to walk free is potentially dangerous for our most vulnerable citizens.
Our concern really is that she doesn't have an opportunity of harming another child. So really the bottom line, when you hear about California releasing all these sex offenders, this is something that, happens all over the place. The issue is, can we keep the children safe? When she starts using the terms, God told me to, I think that we can't allow that excuse to, condone her behavior. And if she gets the ankle bracelet put back on her and continues to violate that, then she should go back to jail.
And we'll continue to follow Barzee's case here on KSL News Radio and keep you up to date on the latest. Stay with us, because we'll be back with more Midday in just 60 seconds.
It's back, and you will be too. June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds, it's the Summerfest Arts Fair, celebrating its 41st anniversary, featuring local and regional artists and musicians. You're going to love this, like you loved it before. Art, painting, ceramics, music, food. Summerfest Arts Fair is loaded with all the things that you and the family love the most. Then get set for an amazing lineup of musicians, featuring headliners the Lonely Hearts Club Band, The Last Wild Buffalo, and Music City Groove. Plus, enjoy other regional musicians like the Highline Drifters and Fry Pan Band. This is where local, regional, and national artists come together to celebrate the arts. So discover 165 artist booths, 38 performing groups, and 30 food vendors, along with a plein air art competition. Get the full details at logansummerfest.org. logansummerfest.org. Summerfest Arts Fair, June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
Tensions are continuing to rise in Los Angeles today following President Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard to address ICE protests. The state of California is now suing the Trump administration over that decision. The protests saw autonomous vehicles set on fire and major freeways blocked, all as federal troops fired tear gas. News Nation's Mills Hayes is in Los Angeles and reports from the scene of the protests.
We are outside the federal detention center right now. It's very different than what we saw just yesterday. I do want to step out just to give you guys a closer look at where National Guard is right now. Because remember, this was something that President Trump wanted. He wanted these National Guard members here in California to be federalized. And of course, California Governor Gavin Newsom is against it, has come out asking the Secretary of Defense to rescind this order. However, of course, they are still here. But this area looks much different than it did yesterday. It really kind of looks like a ghost town at the moment because it has been blocked off so much by police. And you can see that Los Angeles PD are also getting help from other police departments, including Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. I see a Pasadena police car as well. And you can also see the graffiti that is all over that federal building right there, and the street where no one is allowed to go on, just debris. And that's really what we saw in the afternoon as well, especially when we finished. We got off air around 10 o'clock local time here last night, and when we were walking through the streets of downtown Los Angeles, it really did feel like a ghost town. And you could also see just a spatter of canisters and of foam and rubber bullets everywhere.
And right now, sweepers are out there just trying to clean up the area. President Trump remains firm that he wants the demonstrations in California to end. He says he's prepared to use the tools that he has at his disposal in order to make that happen. News Nation's Robert Sherman reports.
In a statement in which he defended his use of the National Guard, but also slamming Governors Newsom and Mayor Bass, the president writing, quote, "They choose to lie to the people of California and America by saying that we weren't needed and that these are peaceful protests. Just one look at the pictures and videos of the violence and destruction tells you all you have to know. We will always do what is needed to keep our citizens safe." The National Guard has been deployed to California to restore order, with the president's border czar, Tom Homan, saying this today.
I think President Trump made the right decision deploying the National Guard to protect life and property. That's exactly what they're doing. And these people that are they can call them protesters. Many are peaceful protesters. Many are not. Many are criminals.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, has been very critical of the federal response, writing, quote, "This is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. He flamed the fires and illegally acted to federalize the National Guard. The order he signed doesn't just apply to California. It will allow him to go into any state and do the same thing. We are suing him." The federal government says that the demonstrations they're seeing are not changing their positions on enforcement policy, and ICE even going so far as to say that this is evidence that more law enforcement officers and border enforcement officers are needed. You have certainly seen the president focus very heavily on the issues of immigration and the issues of the border. This was a cornerstone of his campaign heading into all of this. And you see some of the metrics. This is a survey that was conducted by CBS in recent days. In terms of the goals of removal of those who are in the country illegally.
And the results are pretty split. 55% of people say they like the goals. 45% say they dislike the goals. When we come back, we'll get an update on Utah's lethality assessment. It's been in place for 2 years now, and Lieutenant Governor says they've learned some interesting things from the reporting. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We still have slowdowns possible southbound I-15 in Davis County going from Kaysville into Farmington, and Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash downtown at 4th East and 500 South. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meeson, the KSL Traffic Center.
I'm Holly Richardson.
My name is Greg Skordas. Listen for the new Inside Sources.
One of the things that people don't realize about Utah politics, at the state legislative level, there's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of working together for the good of Utah. Inside Sources, weekdays from 9 to noon.
This is a show that a person could listen and learn something every day and say, you know what, I didn't know that this morning at 9, but I know it now. Inside Sources.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
If you've been saying for a long time that you want to lose weight, what are you waiting for? I need to tell you about a program that's taken all of the frustration out of losing weight, and that is Salt Lake City Fat Loss. This program uses a simple combination of foods, so it's all natural, to burn that stored fat. And what that means is you lose the weight very quickly, and that helps keep you motivated. There are no injections, no medications, and it's less expensive than other programs because you're not forced to buy prepackaged meals or any bars or other products like that. I've lost more than 40 pounds with this great program, 25 of those in the first 60 days. Many people lose up to a pound per day. You can save $200 right now. Just learn more at slcfatloss.com. You can also call them at 801-450-1882. Again, slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Market volatility isn't slowing down. If you're nearing retirement, now is not the time to wait and see. Every day of uncertainty can put your future at risk. It's time to diversify. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know you can create certainty, locking in guaranteed income for life. This means predictable, stable cash flow, even in turbulent times. You've worked too hard to leave your retirement to chance. Right now, there are options to receive up to 30% upfront or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't wait. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any examples provided are hypothetical. Annuities are issued with prospectus and sales brochures and should be reviewed carefully before funding as features and benefits vary. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night I was there for opening night of 12 Angry Men at Hale Center Theater. When Mark Dietlein introduced the opening night performance, he said, boy, you know, we rarely present something like this at Hale Center Theater. It is a true drama, and Mark was absolutely right. The angst you feel, the prejudice you feel, the despair almost, and even the heartbreak of a father concerned about a son, it all goes into the deliberation of this jury that is going to decide whether a man lives or dies. And unfolding on the stage, we see what one person can do. 12 Angry Men, you've got to see it at Hale Center Theater. And right now, just down the hall, we couldn't go for a bigger difference when we're talking about Finding Neverland. 2 wonderful performances are underway right now at Hale Center Theater. Get your tickets. Go to hct.org. And don't miss 12 Angry Men.
This is Midday. I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos. She has the day off today. 2 years after the state started mandating lethality assessments on domestic violence calls, the numbers show about 1 in 5 of these calls involve repeat offenders. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson was on Inside Sources today with Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson.
You know, after my cousin Mandy was gunned down, brutally murdered by her ex-husband in August of 2022, in the next legislative session in 2023, we did pass this lethality assessment protocol legislation that required all law enforcement entities to conduct a lethality assessment when they go to a scene of intimate partner violence, no matter where it is, and then kind of compile this database so they have information. Since that went into effect, which was July 1st, 2023, we have had just over 21,000 lethality assessments conducted. Wow. And it's not been quite 2 years yet. So 21,000, and that's number since the end of May. So it's been probably a little bit more since then. And it's been really interesting to see kind of some of the trends. About almost 2/3 of those lethality assessments come back scored at a potentially lethal. So people are at high risk. And now we're starting to see some repeat offenders. 19% of these lethality assessments are recurring people who've had lethality assessments before. And 27% of them are actually on people who had restraining orders or protective orders.
I'll be honest with you. When I've practiced in this field for a long time, and I think you know that, Lieutenant Governor, I was a prosecuting attorney, and I prosecuted domestic violence cases, and as a defense attorney, I've defended them. And I talked to you about this. We talked to you a year or two ago when this was coming into place, and I thought, law enforcement's not going to utilize this, and they're not going to like it, but they do. And I see them use it all the time. Yeah. And I see these assessments done in case after case after case. And I think that there's going to be a we're going to look back on this in the future, and we're going to gather a ton of information that's incredibly valuable to us. And I think it's valuable to the courts because that's where I practice mostly, and it's important to law enforcement. And it gives sort of an objective view of domestic violence that sometimes law enforcement can look at a case and say, well, this isn't a good case or it is a good case. But putting the assessment in place like you have really gives a fair and objective analysis of what's going on in a domestic violence situation.
Yeah, I mean, when a law enforcement goes to a scene and there's just one incident, they might not think that one incident is all that big of a deal.
Right.
But if they have that better context and a bigger picture, and they can assess the lethality of the situation and see maybe what's happened in the past, they'll use their discretion in some different ways. And I think that's really valuable information for law enforcement. This is these are deaths that happen. These intimate partner violence deaths, homicides, are preventable. And we need to be doing everything that we can to prevent them. There's a lot more that we need to be doing. The water's not all the way down to the end of the row yet at all. But this has been a really good starting point.
Is there anything with this almost 2 years of data that has surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sheer volume of these lethality assessments that come back as potentially lethal, that surprised me. I didn't realize it would be so many that came back. Also, it's been surprising to see that we really had a lot of need out there. So another part of that legislation was connecting victims to victim services on the scene. And that has put a lot of strain on our community partners who are these nonprofit organizations who do this victim service work. We were able to get them some funding. They need a lot more. What we did was good, but not nearly enough. And they're really feeling that strain because there were so many people who needed these services who were not getting them and now are being connected. And it's really good that they're being connected, but we also need to not let our foot off the gas.
Now, as he mentioned, our co-host of Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, he's a criminal defense attorney and a former prosecutor, and he says the assessments really do help law enforcement and victims advocates build stronger cases. And Inside Sources now airs weekdays at 9 here on KSL News Radio. Moving to national news now, let's talk about trade. U.S. and Chinese negotiators are meeting in London today for trade talks. The Trump administration hopes some type of deal can be reached with trade and tariffs. News Nation's Joe Khalil reports.
We have not seen any of the representatives who were in the building come out. So we don't have an update, which means they've been inside hammering out whatever they're talking about for several hours now. Look, this is an incredibly important day for trade relations between the United States and China. The U.S. side says they're trying to get the trade situation back on track to the deal that they both made back in May. We know President Trump has alleged that China failed to uphold its end of the bargain. His administration officials haven't gone that far, but some have said China was slow-walking their commitments that they made. And that specifically detailed things like the rare earth minerals. If you're not familiar, the rare earth, those are very specific minerals that the U.S. doesn't have an abundance of that China does, and they are in almost everything that we use now electronically, from your smartphones to even military equipment. They're crucial in building batteries. So back when President Trump initially put on the tariffs on China, one of the ways they responded was by slowing the exports of those rare earth minerals back to the United States. Now, as part of the deal that both sides worked out back in May, the American side said there was an agreement to release those minerals, but that China has been slow walking it. So that is one main objective on the part of the United States. For China's part, they have also claimed that the U.S. has not held its end of the bargain up, and they have actually criticized the United States for canceling or limiting student visas for Chinese students that want to come and study in the United States. So there has been this sort of ping pong back and forth where things were very bad. They appeared to have gotten a little bit better back in May, and then relations soured again. It seems both sides trying to put themselves back on an upward trajectory coming out of this meeting. Obviously, a lot at stake as both sides, the largest economies in the world here. They made progress. They brought tariffs from 145% and 120% down to 30 and 10 respectively. But beyond that, today will determine how the rest of the path goes forward now. We've heard European officials actually bring up the court cases that the Trump administration have lost on the tariff regime as a reason that they may not take tariffs seriously anymore. What happened is there was a trade court in the United States that essentially ruled that President Trump's tariffs were illegally implemented because the basis for the tariffs was a trade emergency, and this court had found there was not an actual emergency, and therefore he needed to get tariffs approved by Congress, which he did not do. However, the Supreme Court actually put that decision to a halt. So for now, the administration's tariffs are legally allowed to move forward until presumably the Supreme Court takes a look at it more deeply. In the meantime, it does sort of leave this open question as to whether the American courts are going to hamper the Trump administration's ability to set their own tariffs without actually going to Congress and getting them approved.
And it doesn't appear as though the Chinese side is taking the court situation as a serious factor. It's 1:30, midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we're watching this hour: Utah's universities releasing plans to shift their budgets around. Representative Malloy asking for more funding for Utah's search and rescue teams, and KSL traffic. Ricky.
In Wasatch County, we do have crews now on the scene in the final clearing of this crash on Highway 189 by Deer Creek. They're over to the right shoulder, and a new accident for Davis County drivers southbound I-15 in Kaysville being moved to the shoulder. Britt?
The president crediting National Guard members he deployed for quelling the violence.
Wonderful National Guard. They've really helped in a lot of problems that we're having out there.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom says the president overstepped his authority by mobilizing National Guard troops and created a worse situation. The state now suing the Trump administration. More protests, meantime, over the ICE arrest taking place in L.A. today. Russia launching a record number of aerial drone and missile strikes across Ukraine overnight, including the capital. That caused Polish and Allied planes to scramble briefly over Poland's airspace. And word today, funk legend Sly Stone has died. Best known as the frontman for Sly and the Family Stone with hits like Dance to the Music. His family says he battled COPD and other health issues. Sly Stone was 82. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story: a man accused of stealing a backpack from the Delta Sky Club at Salt Lake International could face more serious charges. Police say he tried to grab an officer's gun, and they had to use force to restrain him. He's been booked into the Salt Lake County Jail on suspicion of theft, intoxication, and trying to disarm an officer. One of the two people who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart more than 20 years ago was back in court this morning to face new charges. Wanda Barzee is accused of going to two different Salt Lake City parks, which violates her terms as a registered sex offender. Elizabeth Smart herself spoke out about the arrest last month on her foundation's Instagram page.
I feel like I've been vocal about my concerns since Barzee's initial release, and this incident confirms exactly why.
Smart's other kidnapper, Brian David Mitchell, he's serving a life sentence in federal prison. Barzee has been charged with 2 misdemeanors. A canine with the Weber County Sheriff's Office has died over the weekend in what's being called an unexpected medical condition. The department says canine Nova was just about 2 years old and was in training to detect drugs. They didn't specify what the medical condition was, but they say Nova will be missed. Recycled wastewater could fill your water bottle in the future in St. George. Okay, let's hear about it. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
A large population and extreme drought have been causing issues for the water supply in St. George for a while now, but planners with the Water Conservation District say their plan could bring a huge amount of relief. The plan involves helping people build homes and create lawns that use a small amount of water. It also makes plans for expanding reservoirs. But the largest amount of water will come from what has already been flushed down the toilet or run down the drain. Currently, the city has been able to clean some of this water to the point it can be used to water lawns, but they have plans to convert most of it to drinking water by the mid-2030s.
That'll be interesting to watch. The facility to treat the water will be part of a large system, one that will cost over $1 billion by the time it's complete. Scientists say reclaimed wastewater can be safe for drinking through an elaborate treatment process. Several Western states already have policies in place to allow it. Don't be alarmed if you see pink water at Bear Lake this week. The Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands says it's the result of some research from the Utah State University. Aggie researchers have been putting some pink dye in the water to study water exchange rates, basically how fast the pink stuff dissipates. Bear Lake is famous for its clear turquoise blue water, which is caused by mineral deposits. Your money at this moment. Let's take a look at the markets. Things are still in the green. The Dow gaining 61 points, S&P up 12, NASDAQ up 77 points. Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card program. Here's Ricky Meese.
A crash in the slowdown southbound I-15 in Kaysville. And that slowing goes from the ponds down to Farmington, but this crash is out of traffic already and on the shoulder. Jordan Valley Water says we're using about 12% more water than last year, even though we don't need to. Do your part. Water one day less each week. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
This week, hot, highs in the 90s every single day. Right now, it's 87 degrees and sunny from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk. A wireless company that actually stands for something.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Britt Johnson, in for Maria Shilaos, has the day off today. Utah's public colleges are moving forward with budget reallocations, and they will now move forward with their budget reallocations following the approval from the State Board of Higher Education. And you might recall that during the last legislative session, the Utah legislature approved House Bill 265, which called for strategic reinvestment of funds at Utah's colleges and universities. Institutes of higher education have been working over the past few months to create their plans, looking at things like enrollment data, complete rates, program level costs, and current and future statewide workforce demands. The plans called for various changes and budget shifts in the areas like programs, courses, and degrees, and in departments and administrative roles. So during their meeting, the Utah Board of Higher Education heard about the plans from 8 of Utah's degree-granting public schools.
With respect to reinvestments, some of the key areas that these dollars are flowing into, and so you can see healthcare comprises the biggest share. That is exactly what you might expect. Nursing, behavioral health, and other programs. engineering. The various includes accounting, marketing, NANB, transportation, prison education programming, a number of different high-yield workforce-centric areas that just sort of more aggregated such that it's difficult to break them out independently. To computer science and AI, business, general education, and then other technical education initiative programs that aren't reflected in this other category. So very, very much concentrating on the fact that so much of this reinvestment in instruction is aligned with high demand and workforce-centric areas.
The University of Utah's plans call for reallocating more than $19.5 million. They've proposed sending most of the money to AI and biotechnology, boosting nursing classes and strengthening their general education courses. Cut courses include graduate programs in modern dance, Middle East studies, and neurobiology. At Utah State University, they'll shift around $12.6 million. Their changes will focus on programs like engineering, AI, and analytics, along with the health industry, while they cut programs like American Studies, Deaf Education, and Agriculture Communication. Salt Lake Community College says a large amount of their funds will go towards technical programs. It's summertime, and that means long road trips for camping, boating, and vacations in general. But that also means a lot more cars on the road and a lot more opportunities to run across debris scattered on Utah's roads and highways. Now, the Utah Highway Safety Office is joining transportation organizations across the country to try and make roads safer.
We're launching a national effort, Secure Your Load Day. Every single state in the nation is going to be focused on drivers and commercial vehicles securing their loads to make sure that they're not causing a hazard on the roadway for everyone else by their stuff falling out onto the freeway.
In 2024, debris falling from trucks and other vehicles was responsible for the deaths of 3 people, down from a high of 8 in 2021. While deaths might be low, the number of crashes involving road debris is still high. And this is a national effort, but Utah Highway Safety Office Communications Manager Jason Metman tells KSL-TV that driving with a secured load is especially important here in Utah.
Well, Utah is the crossroads of the West. We have more commercial vehicles on our roads than almost any other state. So we have so many big rigs and construction type vehicles that are going to be coming through to build all the new housing that we're building and all of that. So we have lots of big vehicles and equipment coming through the state. That is a risk for Utah drivers out on our roads. Commercial vehicles and drivers need to be responsible to take care of their own gear. And then also, Utah has great outdoors. We love to go camping. We love to enjoy all of the great scenery and outdoors that Utah has to offer. So people are going to be going out camping and loading their truck full of all their fun things to go play with outside. So please make sure that when you do that, make safety part of your plan.
And it's not only the time of year where outdoor recreation ramps up with more cars hauling boats and trailers, but it's also yard work season, and all kinds of debris, tools, branches, sticks, they can come loose while you're out on the road. Metman says, unfortunately, any unsecured load can lead to tragic consequences.
Every single year, Utah has about 750 incidents out on the road related to unsecured loads. That's crashes, serious injuries, and fatalities. In 2024, we had 9 serious injury crashes and 3 fatalities on our roads due to this debris that falls off of people's vehicles. This is a totally 100% preventable choice that people are making out on the roads. When people decide to just get in a hurry and don't strap down their gear, think of a motorcyclist, think of a small vehicle that has to impact that big box or the refrigerator or whatever falls off of your truck. They don't have a lot of reaction time if you're going 70 miles an hour. So unfortunately last year, 3 people died on our roads due to this problem. It should have never happened. Our heart breaks for these families that are missing folks this summer. They want to go out and enjoy their families, but if we don't have those folks at the dinner table tonight because of a fatality, it's a tragedy.
Metman says he understands that people are in a hurry, but it only takes a couple of extra minutes, and it's worth it to tie down your loads so that we can avoid further tragedies. And aside from crashes, injuries, and fatalities, there are financial repercussions to the unsecured loads as well. More Midday in just 1 minute.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Utah Representative Celeste Malloy says she wants more money for search and rescue efforts, especially in the rural areas of the state. The Kane County Sheriff's Office gets several calls a week to rescue people who've run into trouble while recreating in the great outdoors here in Utah. Lieutenant Alan Aldridge tells KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi how they try and keep costs down, but says it still adds up.
The thing, I guess, that saves us is the fact that our search and rescue members are just members of our community. They're volunteers. They leave their jobs, they leave their homes, their families, and they go out week after week after week on these searches. And so they're not drawing a wage. It's just mainly, fuel expenses, equipment expenses, food expenses, those kind of things that we pay to keep them going. And so, yeah, if you get a multi-day thing, you could rack up a pretty good bill for some of that kind of stuff. Or if you've got to buy a specialized piece of equipment, that stuff's expensive anymore. And so that's kind of where your expenses are at.
Representative Malloy is promoting a bill that creates a grant program to help states with the costs of search and rescue on federal lands. Aldridge says that makes a lot of sense because right now it's mainly draining their resources.
The premise there is, especially for counties like ours, we're going out on federal lands to rescue people. And I guess the feeling there is just maybe the federal government should help a little bit with that. Because we're out on their land, they don't necessarily have enough personnel to go and do all these searches and things. Plus, statutorily, that responsibility by state law falls upon the sheriff of each county, and the way that the state of Utah partners with the federal lands, it's considered what's called proprietary jurisdiction, so the sheriff actually has jurisdiction for search and rescue even on federal land. So it is our responsibility to go and do that. But we are on their land, rescuing people that they're out recreating on their land. And so I guess that's kind of the thought process is, well, maybe they should help pay a little bit, towards those searches. Just because it's their land that we're out working on.
And in the meantime, Aldridge says several organizations just try to work together to provide those rescue services without all the costs falling to one group or even on the person that's being rescued.
If we use the state helicopter, there's no cost to us. That's not to say there's no cost. Somebody's paying for that helicopter and the fuel and the pilot's wages. That's coming out of the state's budget somewhere. They don't charge us. We have never charged anybody on the ground for a search. We just cover that with our, we have a budget, a search and rescue budget that we use, and so we're not charging the people that we go to pick up or help. The medical helicopters, if we use them, if the state helicopter is busy and we use one of those medical helicopters, they've been really great partners with us. They'll give us a couple of hours up front of free flight time, which to them is $1,800 an hour. But then, like I say, we have a budget within our county budget that we pay for our search and rescue volunteers. We pay, their gas and their equipment and food and whatever they need to perform their duties.
Utah State University students, they're building rocket parts using 3D printers. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a few minutes. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
2 crashes, both on I-15, both in Davis County. The one has been there for a few minutes, southbound I-15 in Kaysville. It's prior to Shepherd Lane, and part of the slowing going from the ponds down to Farmington. And then we have an accident northbound I-15 at 5th West Bountiful. It is blocking a left lane. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Incredible savings on all Bernina machines at Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Don't miss our sun-kissed savings, such as $200 to $400 off machines $2,000 to $5,000. $500 to $700 off machines $5,000 to $8,000. $800 to $1,000 discounts on machines $8,000 to $15,000. And get $1,500 savings on machines $15,000 and up. Plus a limited time offer of 2.99% interest for 60 months on certain machines.
Come in now for bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties.
The Burnett 33 machine is only $199 and the Burnett Academy $349.
Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
With a discount up to $1,500.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Dave'sBernina.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Imagine waking up every morning with a smile you're proud of. No more hiding, no more pain. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's Best of State winner for 3 years in a row, has helped thousands of people ditch the dentures and say goodbye to missing or broken teeth. Their expert team specializes in giving you a permanent, natural-looking smile with dental implants that feel and function just like real teeth. With over 2,000 five-star Google reviews, their patients say it best.
Dental implants gave me my life back. I feel confident again. I feel like I can be myself.
There was no way I was getting dentures. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been the best decision of my life.
Let the expert team at Stubbs Dental help you take the first step to changing your life with dental implants. Schedule your complimentary consultation today, a $350 value, absolutely free. Visit StubbsDental.com today. That's StubbsDental.com. StubbsDental.com.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
This is Midday. I'm Britt Johnson, filling in for Maria Shilaos today. Utah State University's new 3D printed rocket motor is being tested by NASA with the goal of being used in the upcoming Artemis mission. USU's mechanical and aerospace engineering professor Stephen Whitmore says they modified a system Utah State developed over a decade ago and proposed it to NASA.
So NASA about 2.5 years ago, put out an open bid
for universities and companies to come in and develop a gas generation system, which is a euphemism for a rocket. It's called a gas generator because we're not really propelling anything, but it's exactly the same thing as a rocket. And we came back with a proposal on our modifying our green propulsion system that we developed at Utah State here at the Propulsion Lab over the last 15 years, and we won the bid on that. So we have been over the last year and a half working with NASA to develop a system that is scaled to fit in their chamber, but that actually emulates a lot of the plume characteristics of what will be on the actual lunar lander system.
And Whitmore says they used a material that most of us are pretty familiar with, especially the kiddos.
The type of motor we're using is essentially a hybrid rocket, and for this particular application, we're using oxygen, and then believe it or not, we're using 3D printed ABS. It's a classic 3D printed material. It's the same thing they make Legos out of, and it turns out that's a very good rocket fuel for this. Only thing with Legos, they have burn retardant in, so the kids don't catch them on fire, but we actually have a special modified version of the fuel. And we've doped it so that the plume coming out of the back end matches as closely as possible what you're going to see with the real lander system.
Whitmore says it did take a lot of work and a lot of stress, but now they get to move on to the exciting next steps.
It took a year of real fighting and frustration to get the system to work. And when we got down to Huntsville and we got ready to start testing, we were just sitting there with our fingers crossed, and I couldn't even look. And lo and behold, it all worked. It worked perfectly. So it went as designed, and so NASA was very pleased with it. And now we're pressing on to the next scale this fall. We're going to go to the big vacuum chamber test down at in Hampton, Virginia at the NASA Langley Center.
The Artemis mission aims to venture back to the moon and use new technologies for exploration and possibly even establish a long-term presence there. Bump set, spike it, that's the way we like it, especially in Utah lately. Boys volleyball was sanctioned for Utah high schools 2 years ago, and it seems to coincide with a surge in the sport's popularity in Utah. South Jordan just celebrated the opening of a new volleyball facility because there's been such a high demand for court space. Owner of volleyball club GSL, Warren van Skolkvake, says it's the largest girls' sport across the country, and now because of the addition of boys volleyball here, people can't get enough. And it's bringing a lot of opportunities for all players.
So it's already really big on the girls' side, and then we're seeing a massive expansion and explosion of boys wanting to come in and play on the boys' side here in the state of Utah. So I think, why do I think volleyball is so cool? Number one, I think it's a really good culture. And I think a part of that has to do with the fact that there's a volleyball net in the middle, so people can't bump against each other, elbow each other, do hard fouls. So it's more of a, people aren't punching each other and getting each other's faces as much. So I think it's gaining in popularity because of that. I just think it's a fun team sport. I think once people play it, they realize how challenging it is and how complicated it is and how really fun it is. And then, of course, there's the benefit of the scholarships, both on the boys and the girls side. Just Club GSL, for example, in the last 2 years, has sent 5 boys to BYU on a scholarship, 1 girl on a scholarship, 2 athletes to the University of Utah, 4 athletes to Westminster College, and then multiple athletes to all the junior colleges all across the country. So it's a wonderful pathway for kids wanting to get any kind of a scholarship. Like the payoff to playing club volleyball is pretty high because the chances of you getting recruited, I think, are high.
But it's not just high school kids that are clamoring for the court. He says we've also made a big milestone with women's professional sports.
There's 4 professional volleyball leagues in the country right now, which is crazy. And one of them happens to be here in Salt Lake City, and they're called LOVE. It's League One Volleyball. Their acronym is LOVB, but it's pronounced Love Volleyball. That's actually pretty. I think they just completed their first season, and so obviously that's it's pretty big news for Utah that there's a professional women's volleyball league here.
And with all this popularity, we may see some more facilities popping up. Van Skolkveig says to keep your eyes open for the introduction of beach volleyball courts on the Wasatch Front. He says those are on the way. Turning now to entertainment news, an alien beats a ballerina at the weekend movie box office and a legacy slasher sequel in showbiz news. ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
ABC Entertainment News.
What is that?
Disney's Lilo and Stitch ruled the top of the movie theater charts for a third weekend, adding another $32.5 million in North America, bringing its global tally to over $772 million, say studio estimates. Disney is the parent company of ABC News. Second,
do you like to dance?
the John Wick spin-off Ballerina came up below expectations, $25 million. Singer-songwriter Marina talking with ABC News about her new album Princess of Power and its songs like Butterfly.
This album is so much about the energy of play and love in many forms.
Jennifer Love Hewitt on bringing back after 28 years her character in the new Legacy sequel movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Gratitude for being invited back in the first place and the fans really wanting me to be a part of this version of the franchise.
Movie premieres July 18th. Celebrity birthdays. Natalie Portman is 44, Johnny Depp 62, Michael J. Fox 64. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Protests re-erupting today following a weekend of rioting in Los Angeles.
You say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what?
The time is 2 o'clock on Monday, June 9th. It's midday. I'm Britt Johnson. Coming up, we'll go in depth on what folks are protesting about and the president's response to it. Also this hour,
there are some general concerns that people have, but it actually is fairly context specific.
why more and more people are growing weary about artificial intelligence. But first, our top stories. The Weber County Sheriff's Office says a K-9 officer died over the weekend. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Their K-9 named Nova was just about to turn 2 years old, and she had been training to detect illegal drugs and doing quite well, according to the Weber County Sheriff's Department's Facebook page. But on Saturday, they say she had an unexpected medical condition and she passed away. Now, they haven't given any more details other than saying she was loved and will not be forgotten.
Nova joined the Sheriff's Office team just last November. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Governor Newsom is threatening to sue the Trump administration for sending the National Guard to L.A. The Guard was ordered to deal with the ongoing protests over ICE raids.
Ventura County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department also come in, and then, of course, they have the National Guard staged at different parts of Los Angeles. The mayor saying, though, that she is encouraging those that want to protest peacefully to do so rightfully, to express their messaging, express their concerns. But the LAPD chief, while he was noting that there were several protests that were conducted in the right manner, he called these other acts of violence disgusting.
ABC's Melissa Ada. While speaking to reporters at the White House today, President Trump seemed to back the border czar's threat to arrest Governor Newsom.
I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows.
Trump called the protesters insurrectionists. Other national stories KSL is following. A judge has dismissed Justin Baldoni's $400 million defamation lawsuit against co-star Blake Lively.
Baldoni and his studio Wayfair claimed that Lively, assisted by her husband Ryan Reynolds and Leslie Sloan, her publicist, stole the film from him, threatened to refuse to promote the film, and then threatened to attack Baldoni and Wayfair in the press if Blake Lively did not get creative control over the film. So as a result of that claim, Baldoni and Wayfair claimed this was civil extortion. The judge decided, nope, we're throwing this out.
ABC's Jacqueline Lee reporting. Your money at this moment. Oh, we've had a little bit of a change. The Dow is off, but just 1 point. The S&P is still in the green, 5 points, and the NASDAQ has gained 61 points. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
Crews are still working on this accident in Davis County, northbound I-15, about 5th West Bountiful. It is blocking the left lane of travel. We also have a stalled vehicle in traffic southbound I-15 on the exit ramp at Pleasant Grove Boulevard, blocking a left lane. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be hot this week, a high today of 92, and that's going to feel cool compared to the rest of the week. 95 Wednesday, 97 for Father's Day on Sunday. Right now it's 88 degrees and sunny from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tim Hughes back again with Greg and Mike at Replenish Landscape Garden Products. And Mike, we talk about Replenish Compost itself, but it's your soil blends, I think, that most people should have in their growing areas because it's going to help immensely.
It will, yeah. We have a variety of soil blends, a topsoil blend, a Ute-like garden mix that adds some soil conditioner in it to keep the soil loose, and garden box blend.
And Greg, it doesn't matter if that means flowers or maybe your vegetable garden, it's going to work in both spots.
That's right. Everything regarding success in the garden or in the yard starts with the soil, and you won't find any better soil blends than what we carry.
And of course, as we have told you before, you can pick it up here yourself in bag or in bulk, or Mike, you can have it delivered.
Yeah, we deliver it in bulk or bag, or the super big bag as well, the 1 cubic yard bag.
You can always find them at 4660 South, 200 West in Murray. Give them a call at 801-262-5142 or go online at replenishcompost.com. You know it, Replenish. It's good stuff.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you need to hire, you know it takes time. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You simply pick a time and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day.
Try Zip Intro for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
We have breaking news here on KSL News Radio. 500 Marines have reportedly been ordered to respond to the protests in Los Angeles. This is Midday. I am Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos. And this information comes from CNN, who says 3 people close to the matter say these Marines will join National Guard troops sent by the president over the weekend. CNN reports their task is unclear, but it seems like the Marines will join the Guard on the streets of LA. And continuing our coverage of these riots in Los Angeles, just a short time ago, the California Attorney General said the state's sovereignty was, quote, trampled by President Donald Trump when he ordered the National Guard troops to downtown Los Angeles. The state now suing the Trump administration. ABC's Brad Milkey breaks down everything that happened this weekend and what's continuing to happen on this edition of the Start Here podcast.
There are some issues in this country that inspire fervor and fear that goes well beyond normal politics. One of them is immigration. In recent weeks, we've seen just how far the Trump administration is willing to go when it comes to deporting migrants. Men and women have been stopped on their way to work, students on their way to class or volleyball practice. These are people's family members, their employees, their children. Agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, sometimes wearing masks, have descended on apartment blocks and courthouses to make arrests. Recently, after being told to get arrest numbers up, the Department of Homeland Security set up appointments for immigrants to finalize their citizenship or update the government on their whereabouts, appealing to migrants' sense of responsibility, even patriotism, only to arrest them right then and there. The White House says these operations are meant to rid the streets of violent foreign-born gang members. Several times, though, these operations have been deemed illegal by courts. Some Democratic governors and mayors have made it clear local police forces won't assist ICE with deportations, which has led to the simmering tension. Advocates saying to themselves, what are we going to do when ICE comes to our community? Are we just going to let them haul our loved ones away? What would happen if we tried to physically stop them from doing it? Well, this weekend, we began to see these scenes play out, most notably on the streets of Los Angeles. This has ignited conflict, not just between citizens and police, but between state leaders and the federal government. Let's start the day with ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, who's based in L.A. Matt, let's back up for a second. How did this all start?
I think it started for me, as it did for most people out here, watching armored vehicles going through L.A. streets and in downtown Los Angeles in broad daylight, having what looked like fully armed troops descending from those armored trucks and arresting people, taking them in. That prompted these spontaneous protests in the street, people standing in front of the vehicles to try to block them from proceeding, from taking friends, from coworkers, loved ones, family members.
We ran because one of the persons said ICE in Spanish.
And suddenly, there were hundreds of people out in the streets in various parts of L.A.
But the elderly people that were not able to run, those were the ones that got caught.
Saturday morning rolls around. There is another purported action taking place in basically southeast Los Angeles, a town called Paramount. It's its own incorporated town, but it's basically part of larger, greater Los Angeles. And what protesters seem to think was happening is that ICE was getting ready to make arrests, to take people in.
Paramount does not welcome you. We want you out of our community.
And so that spawned additional, very significant protests in the middle of the street. They basically created bonfires, and into the night on Saturday, you could see the smoke billowing above the Los Angeles skyline. The clashes in Paramount throughout the day on Saturday drew enough attention, national attention, that somebody else was watching. President Trump was watching. And he, because of that, ended up calling in the National Guard, calling up 2,000 National Guard. Typically, it's a governor who calls in National Guard within his own state borders. This time, the president bypassed that, to the consternation and vast upset of Governor Gavin Newsom.
And President Trump is actually saying that he's not opposed to arresting Governor Gavin Newsom. And it comes after the government dared acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Tom Homan, to come arrest him. Here's what the president said exiting Marine One.
Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows.
And we understand that may have been a little bit hard to understand, but President Trump is saying Governor Newsom has done a terrible job and that he's grossly incompetent. The president said he thinks the idea of arresting Governor Newsom is great. ABC's Brad Milkey continues his discussion with Matt Gutman, saying he's surprised by the president calling in the National Guard and not the governor, as it usually happens.
I don't think it's happened since the civil rights movement. What was President Trump's justification and how did that play out?
Yeah, I don't think it's happened since 1965, Brad. President Trump saying that this is about national security.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
Months ago, the governor's office had been preparing for this. They've known that something like this was bound to happen, and they told me, listen, the president has jurisdiction here. He can bypass the governor. We don't like it. We don't want that to happen, but we expect that to happen. And there's not that much we can do about it because we aren't talking about the commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the United States, including the National Guard.
Right. Section 10 of the U.S. Code says if there's a rebellion or a threat of a rebellion, quote, the president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary. It's pretty broad.
Yeah, or if there's any threat to national security, he can deploy them as well. And that's what he said is happening on the streets here of LA. And then Sunday rolls around. We saw this line of federal law enforcement agents, along with California National Guard, standing by at the big federal building in downtown Los Angeles, which has the big federal courthouse and the jail. And there were hundreds and hundreds of protesters that began congregating there. They were pushed back by flashbangs and some pepper balls. And then thousands of people started descending, Brad, on downtown Los Angeles. They were spilling out into the 101 freeway.
CHP, California Highway Patrol deployed smoke. They're moving in on both sides, trying to push these protesters out. You can see some projectiles.
And that's when the LAPD and California Highway Patrol had to come in. So they had been sitting this out. They are not part of the deportations. They have not been arresting anybody under the aegis of the federal government, but then they have to try to enforce law and order on the streets of Los Angeles.
Whoa!
We saw bricks flying. Pieces of concrete from the street were pried and chucked at law enforcement. We saw glass bottles, hydro flasks, metal bottles being thrown. Anything that could be grabbed off the street started to be chucked at police officers.
Hey, whoa!
And at one point, I was right there as a motorcyclist who was kind of doing donuts right in front of the officers. Either he lost control or he purposely tried to break through the skirmish line with his motorcycle and run through officers, either one of those. But whatever it is, he was on the ground. They were on top of him. So the major violence that we've seen, and it was violence that we saw here on the streets of Los Angeles, Brad, was between LAPD and California Highway Patrol officers and the public, not with federal officials who are actually enacting the orders of President Trump.
And some politicos think that President Trump may want to use these images and videos coming out of LA showing destruction to vehicles, fires, and police fighting protesters to further a message of disorder and crime in liberal states like California. ABC's Matt Gutman continues his conversation with Brad Mielke.
You know, it's interesting because I think there were several kinds of people who went out to this protest. I saw hundreds and hundreds of people who are regular folks, right? Who I spoke to one woman who works at the VA, and she said, you know, I came here from Mexico at the age of 5. I work in the VA. I help counsel veterans. My husband is out here too. We've seen our family and our friends being taken away like criminals, and we're not okay with that. And then there were folks that I saw who were sort of the professional protesters who came with painters' masks, with gas masks, with eye protection, with helmets, with sort of flak jackets. And that was the element that started to take things out of hand as Sunday afternoon and evening progressed into Sunday night. And we saw more things burning in downtown Los Angeles.
What is the role of the National Guard troops going forward? Because usually you hear about, like, yep, the feds are here supporting the local cops, or like the feds are going to take the lead and the local cops are going to support them. But I do get nervous when I start thinking about people in uniform with guns potentially following different sets of orders. I mean, is that a possibility if Gavin Newsom's saying, here's who's responding, and President Trump saying, no, I'm sending my guys?
The last time that we had National Guards in the streets of Los Angeles was because of the fires in January. And there were guardsmen with, you know, their MRAPs, their armored vehicles, a lot of intersections across this city. We don't exactly know what their orders are at this point. We do know that they are there to protect and defend federal facilities. We did not see any of them in the streets. They were not interfacing with the protesters or demonstrators the way the LAPD was. I don't know if that's going to change. It very well might if they get a different mandate from the president. The other question is President Trump and his defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, are they going to call in the Marines?
The bar for sending Marines to
the bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order.
They've talked about it. They said they're considering it. And the question is, are we going to see active duty Marines in downtown Los Angeles, probably for the first time since the Rodney King riots in 1991. This would be unprecedented, and it is a very different kind of series of demonstrations and protests that we're seeing right now than we saw in 1991, where whole blocks of downtown Los Angeles were burned and an enormous number of stores were looted.
Yeah, and again, so much of this seemed like it started from sort of these spontaneous acts of outrage, of physically trying to protect people around them. Now, you wonder if this becomes a standoff, not just between President Trump and Gavin Newsom or LA Mayor Karen Bass, but in other democratically led cities and states that typically don't work with immigration authorities. Matt Gutman in LA, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad.
That was ABC's Brad Mielke and Matt Gutman on the Start Here podcast, and we have just learned that they are sending 500 Marines to LA. We got that information from CNN. After the break, we'll talk about similar but much quieter protests here in Salt Lake City over the weekend, protesting against ICE as well. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We have the stalled vehicle now moved out of the lanes of travel on that exit ramp from southbound I-15 at Pleasant Grove Boulevard. It had been blocking a left lane, causing a little bit of backup, but we still have the crash being cleared in Davis County. That left lane still blocked to traffic northbound I-15 at 5th West Bountiful. Jordan Valley Water says we're using about 12% more water than last year, even though we don't need to. Let's fix that. Water one day less each week. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The kind of inside scoop you only get from KSL. Editor of Utah Policy, Holly Richardson, a.k.a. Holly on the Hill, and KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Greg and Holly make up the new Inside Sources, 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's back, and you will be too. June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds, it's the Summerfest Arts Fair, celebrating its 41st anniversary, featuring local and regional artists and musicians. You're gonna love this, like you loved it before. Art, painting, ceramics, music, food. Summerfest Arts Fair is loaded with all the things that you and the family love the most. Then get set for an amazing lineup of musicians, featuring headliners the Lonely Hearts Club Band, the Last Wild Buffalo, and Music City Groove. Plus, enjoy other regional musicians like the Highline Drifters and Fry Pan Band. This is where local, regional, and national artists come together to celebrate the arts. So discover 165 artist booths, 38 performing groups, and 30 food vendors, along with a plein air art competition. Get the full details at logansummerfest.org. logansummerfest.org. Summerfest Arts Fair, June 12th through the 14th at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
This is Midday. I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos today. Los Angeles wasn't the only place facing protests over the weekend, although they did definitely have the largest crowds. But here in Salt Lake, protesters gathered in front of the federal building downtown. They were voicing similar frustrations and concerns with the Trump administration's handling of deportation and immigration in general.
Power to the people! Power to the people! No one is illegal! No one is illegal! Power to the people! Power to the people! No one is illegal!
The protest was part of the 50-51 movement, standing for 50 protests in 50 states for one movement. Christian Doe came from the protest decked in a white shirt and tie, telling KSL TV's Shelby Lofton that he came right from church. He said it was necessary to attend the rally, saying he needed to voice his opposition to what ICE is doing and how the president is responding.
Protesting against brutality and Nazi-like terror that is being perpetrated by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the administration of Donald Trump. This is grassroots organizing, community members that wanted to get together to fight back against the regime. This is an emergency rally, just like the hundreds of others that are happening in the country right now. There was a call to organize at 3 p.m. in each time zone for all these community groups to get together in solidarity, because this is a class struggle. When peaceful protesters decided to exercise their First Amendment right, protected by the Constitution, the president sent 2,000 National Guard soldiers, fully armed and ready for conflict, to try and quell the peaceful protests. ICE became violent, using weapons of war and less than lethal weapons to deter the protests. We are here demonstrating that we will not be silenced.
Doe says he sees a lack of humanity when it comes to immigration and deportation.
I have an issue with all ICE arrests. To me, a human being is a human being regardless of whether they have a paper in their pocket. I think all deportation is inhumane. It is a cruel and unusual punishment prohibited by the Constitution for someone who commits not a legal crime, it is a civil infraction. If you look at the definition of overstaying a visa or of jumping the border, it's not a federal crime. It is a civil infraction.
But KSL legal analyst and host of Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, says crossing a federal border illegally is a federal crime. It's a misdemeanor. Another Utahn protesting against ICE was Marissa Williams. She had come over from the annual Pride Festival. She says that she attended the protest because she believes families should be kept together regardless of immigration status.
We're here in solidarity because it's not right to tear families apart. It's not right to have people go through deportation without due process. Even individuals who are here legally with the correct visas are being taken. And we're here to fight back because we care about them as human beings first.
Additional protests are planned throughout the summer. We'll continue to track it all, the ones here in Utah and the ones throughout the country. And we'll continue to keep our eye on the protests in Los Angeles, now entering their 4th day. You can hear updates here on KSL News Radio and online at kslnewsradio.com. In other local news, West Side commuters got a pleasant surprise headed into work after this weekend. The underpass under 4700 South on Bangerter is now open. UDOT spokesman John Gleason joined me live earlier to talk about the progress.
We're making big progress on all 4 interchanges that are under construction right now. But the big change this past weekend, you just mentioned it, was on 4700 South. Everyone who's driving north or south on Bangerter is now driving under the new bridge there. And then, other big news about a month or so away in July, we're expecting the east-west travel on 47th to open as well, which will be, great news for everyone who lives and works in the Taylorsville, West Valley area.
And how big of a deal is this for commuters? I mean, how much time do you think they'll be able to save?
Well, when all 4 interchanges are completed, we're not going to see any stoplights from I-15, Bangerter on I-15 in the south end of the valley, all the way up to 4100 South. And so that's a lot of free-flowing traffic. You're not going to have to stop at those traffic signals. It's also a safer drive because if you take out those conflict points, those stoplights, then you don't have traffic that's intersecting itself, and you can avoid some of those crashes.
And do you have any other big projects coming up this summer that we should be aware of?
What we do, we're expecting heavy delays in the Davis County area this Saturday and the following Saturday. We're working to build the new Shepherd Lane interchange. I-15 between 200 North and Park Lane in Davis County. It's going to be closed this Saturday and next Saturday night for the demolition of the old Shepherd Lane Bridge. And we're going to be detouring all traffic onto US 89 and Main Street in Kaysville. So that's something that we want people to plan ahead for.
That was UDOT's John Gleason. And in other news, President Trump touting a provision in his massive funding bill called the Trump Savings Accounts. He spoke about the bill just a bit ago alongside House Speaker Mike Johnson. The president says it will allow parents and guardians to invest funds in the financial markets on behalf of children.
This is a pro-family initiative that will help millions of Americans harness the strength of our economy to lift up the next generation, and they'll really be getting a big jump on life, especially if we get a little bit lucky with some of the numbers and the economies into the future.
The president says these accounts will be private property controlled by the child's guardians. It's 2:30, midday at KSL News Radio. Hello, I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos today. Some of the stories we're watching this hour. More and more Utahns becoming concerned about using generative AI in their everyday lives. The state of Utah pushing for more young people to get involved in providing community service. And KSL traffic. Ricky, what's going on out there?
Crews are still working on this accident northbound I-15 at 5th West Bountiful, blocking a left lane of travel. Britt?
KSL's top local stories in just 1 minute. First, the latest from ABC News.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Escalating tensions in Los Angeles after protesters against federal immigration raids clashed with law enforcement this weekend. President Trump mobilized the National Guard without approval from the state's governor. A U.S. official now confirming 700 more Marines from California have been ordered to assist in Los Angeles. The president at the White House responding.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think we have it very well under control. I think it would have been a very bad situation. It was heading in the wrong direction. It's now heading in the right direction.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says the president's decision sparked further violence and he overstepped his authority. The state now suing the Trump administration. Trade talks between the U.S. and China began today. They're expected to continue over the next several days. And word today that Sly Stone died. The legendary member of the band, Sly and the Family Stone of the 60s and 70s, known for hits like Dance to the Music. Sly Stone was 82. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. One of the people who kidnapped Elizabeth Smart more than 20 years ago was back in front of a judge this morning. Wanda Barzee is accused of going to 2 different Salt Lake City parks, which violates her terms as a registered sex offender. It was a short hearing with Barzee speaking to the judge for about 3 minutes total, and she's scheduled to be back in court next month. A construction project to expand biking and pedestrian pathways through the city is moving forward. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
It's part of the Green Loop project, a 5.5-mile-long trail system that would also create designated green space downtown. There was concern after some legislation passed this year requiring the mayor's office to work with UDOT before any construction work begins. But Blake Thomas, the senior advisor on real estate and capital projects for the mayor's office, says that's no problem at all.
We intend to work within those parameters and have a strong historic relationship with UDOT.
UDOT echoed similar feelings, saying the department is glad to be working with the city to help create something that best fits the area. The mayor's office is looking at the next step in the process. That includes allocating $3 million in the budget to start construction. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
The Utah County Sheriff's Office says a man who impaled his leg on a stick while rappelling this weekend is recovering at a local hospital. Search and rescuers were called out Sunday to help after someone fell in the Three Falls area above Alpine. Life Flight was able to hoist the man out so he could be taken to the hospital. Other local stories KSL is following. The lieutenant governor says a pilot program to involve more students in volunteering statewide has had a successful first year. Lieutenant Deidre Henderson, tells KSL News Radio's Inside Sources how it all works.
We have 5 LEAs, or 4 school districts and 1 statewide charter school, who have volunteered to be part of this 3-year pilot program. And the goal is for every high school student, well, eventually throughout the state, but right now in these 5 school districts, every high school student to participate in some way in volunteering.
Henderson says the students are learning to love others, themselves, and their communities through volunteering. Your money at this moment. Let's take a look at how the markets ended. The Dow off, but just by a little over a point. The S&P gained 5 points, and the Nasdaq was up 61 points. Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
Left lane still blocked with a crash northbound I-15 at 5th West in Bountiful. It's causing some backups in the area. Also, a new accident blocking a right lane I-15 in Midvale. This is near the South Interchange. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
All right, it's warming up. It's sunny out there, and we just hit 90 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
You're listening to Midday. I'm Britt Johnson in for Maria Shilaos. Artificial intelligence. You tend to either love it or hate it. Or maybe you're like a lot of people who just don't know what to do with it. For those who are hesitant to use AI, you're in good company. A new BYU study looks at the reasons why people are hesitant to adopt artificial intelligence. I spoke with Taylor Wells, Assistant Professor of Information Systems at the BYU Marriott School of Business, about the study and its takeaways. Could you kind of give me a background? What kind of inspired you? What was the motivation to do a study like this?
Sure. We were seeing people who had been using AI for a really long time all of a sudden say, you know what, I don't know if I'm liking this anymore. I'm a little concerned about its use in a variety of ways, and we wanted to kind of drill down on why that was the case. Why are people who had previously used generative AI, who thought it was cool to start with, all of a sudden start to show a little apprehension there?
And so what were your main takeaways? Why are people apprehensive about it now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that we found in this study is that there are some general concerns that people have, but it actually is fairly context specific. So we kind of drilled down into, why people were wanting to not use generative AI in certain circumstances, certain scenarios. And as it turns out, in things like creative and interpersonal sort of scenarios, people have different concerns than if they're doing decision-making tasks or in a more of a high-risk scenario. And so that's one of the big takeaways, is that context really matters, and that people's concerns or apprehensions about using AI actually are fairly differential in those scenarios.
Okay, and it talks about generative AI versus regular AI. What's the difference?
Yeah, so generative AI is what we often refer to as AI now, things like ChatGPT and Claude and some of the competitors there. AI is a broader category that covers things like robot interaction and, AI that is, just algorithms behind the scenes. In this study, we're talking about things like creating pictures and text using the tools that have become common in the last 2 or 3 years.
And so people are more apprehensive about like ChatGPT or like the generating pictures? Which one are they feeling the most apprehensive with?
So both, actually, but for different reasons. So in the more like generating pictures, they're much more concerned about the unethicality of it, whether it's ethical or not, and their need for human connection. And when they're talking about other scenarios, things like doing things for work or for education, they're much more concerned about things like output quality, a little bit about whether it's ethical or not, but whether the output is correct, whether they can use it to do tasks, but they're equally concerned about both.
I know for me personally, when I see news stories with things like humanoid AI robots, that kind of freaks me out. Do you think people are kind of worried about the direction it's going, that it's going a little too far?
People are certainly concerned about that, and we didn't study robots specifically, but there is certainly concern there. One of the things that we found in our study, though, is some of those like traditional anxieties about AI were not really borne out in our results with generative AI. And so it was really some of these things like human connection that showed up in our study, rather than the robots are going to take over the world and replace us all. I'm sure there are concerns on that generally, but we didn't see that in our study.
And if there were one kind of big takeaway, one kind of summarizing sentence following your study, what would it be?
I think it's probably that when we are worried about generative AI, we can't just talk about that worry as one big general worry, that there are worries for specific things that we're doing with generative AI, that we really need human connectivity, that we really need to overcome these worries about ethicality before we choose to use this generative AI for a variety of things.
And so if some of our listeners are hesitant to use AI, do you have any advice for them?
So I actually don't think that being hesitant to use AI is problematic. I think there are legitimate concerns for the tools. There are good reasons not to use generative AI. But I'm also equally optimistic about its potential use in things that we traditionally haven't thought about. And so we have some other studies we're looking at where AI can be used, I think, fruitfully in a variety of things. So I think the skepticism is good, but also there should be some optimism there.
And another thing that's in the news that, I don't know, in me personally, I kind of get a little worried about is how many jobs AI is taking over. And do you think people have that in the back of their mind? Well, I don't want to keep using this if this is eventually going to take my job.
100%. Yeah. And we're looking into that a little bit in the study and much more deeply in some other studies that we're working on. So the concern is real, and I think it should be warranted. We've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of employers, and it seems to be, at least for the people that we're working with, that AI is going to become a kind of a baseline for going forward in the future, that you have to know how to use AI. And those that might not be able to use it in many scenarios will be left behind. And so, yeah, there'll be a lot of disruptions probably in the job market, and AI is just going to become part of work going forward.
Okay, so you're a professor of information systems. How do regular people start learning the basics of how to use AI so that we don't get phased out?
Sure. I think just jumping into it. The tools are fairly accessible. Many of them are available for free, or at least limited editions of them are available for free. Try things out. Try things out for scenarios that you might not expect. Plan a vacation and see how generative AI can help with that or not. Test the results. It's not always accurate, but the accuracy is improving over time. And see, work with it. See what it can do, what it can't do, because it's increasing in capability over time.
And are there next steps following this study?
Oh, a ton of them. So we have some research that we're about to submit, looking at whether people are very concerned about specific actions that people are taking with generative AI. We have a study we're presenting in a few months at a conference about how AI may or may not be able to be used for faith and spirituality promotion, and a whole host of other things that we're trying to dig into. Yeah, lots of things to study in this space.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. And thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
That was Taylor Wells, Assistant Professor of Information Systems at the BYU Marriott School of Business. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part one in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
In other news, the Lieutenant Governor says a pilot program to involve more students in volunteering statewide has had a successful first year. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson sat down with Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on the new Inside Sources to explain how it works and how it can be applied to a variety of different kinds of schools.
We have 5 LEAs, or 4 school districts and 1 statewide charter school, who have volunteered to be part of this 3-year pilot program. And the goal is for every high school student, well, eventually throughout the state, but right now in these 5 school districts, every high school student to participate in some way in volunteering. You've got a lot of volunteering that happens at high school level, but it's usually this, the student government and the same type of people. We want everyone to get involved in some way, and it can't be a top-down approach. So we've given a lot of latitude for schools to figure out what this looks like for them, and we're seeing some really, really cool outcomes.
So that's what I was going to ask you, the nuts and bolts of it. The schools have some ability to sort of work it and figure out some things that they want to do with respect to their school, because I guess it would be different in Salt Lake than it might be in Kane County or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got rural school districts, we've got big school districts, we've got, like I said, the online charter school. So lots of different needs out there, lots of different opportunities out there. And what the schools are doing, we've got $3 million that was appropriated in 2024 that You Serve Utah. They're a division of the Cultural and Community Engagement, the Department of Cultural and Community Engagement, they're really kind of overseeing that funding, that grant funding, and giving some money to these school districts to help them fulfill this purpose. And sometimes that means the school districts will hire what one of them calls a chief worrier, the person who's in charge of figuring this out for their school district or for individual schools. It's funding to help pay for buses or supplies. In Richfield, one of the high schools in Sevier County Sevier School District, they painted the N, I believe it's an N on their mountain for North Sevier High School. And they couldn't have afforded to do that otherwise. So that was their service project to repaint this. And it actually saved the school district a bunch of money because they had the volunteers go and do it, and they used the grant money to pay for the paint. So things like that. But these students are, I've been visiting with them and going on tours to see what's happening in these school districts. And they're just doing some incredible things. And the students are learning a lot about others, about themselves, about their communities. And they're learning to love people better. It's wonderful.
That job title, Chief Worrier, that sounds like my position at home. Henderson says the reaction to the pilot program has been really great so far.
It is a requirement. I mean, it is these participating schools, they have to have, all of the students have to participate. But what they're trying to do is get teachers to just kind of build this culture of service within their classrooms, within their regular lessons that they will teach. And so it's just kind of getting that mindset to change and to those habits to be developed. But we're seeing some really great progress, and the people who've been participating, while there have been some kinks and some hiccups that they're trying to iron out, really have been excited about it and seeing some really good benefits from this.
Henderson says she hopes students will get a lot out of this program, breaking down barriers and establishing new connections along the way.
I've heard from a lot of high school students who have said that they've made friends now with people in their own high schools that they never would have even associated with before. And I think that is a really beautiful thing that can come out of this.
That's Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson speaking to Holly Richardson and Greg Skordas on the new Inside Sources. You can catch them every weekday from 9 to noon, discussing and analyzing the top political and community stories. Those are the sounds of hooves stomping around Utah. Why the famous Budweiser Clydesdales were here. That's coming up next. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Ricky?
We've had a crash called out in Weber County, southbound Washington Boulevard at 40th Street. May already be moved out of traffic. And good news, drivers in Davis County, the crash northbound I-15 in Bountiful has been cleared. All lanes are open. Traffic's rough, but your parking lot doesn't have to be. GoPave Utah keeps things smooth with expert asphalt maintenance at GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are two very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness, and Utah isn't immune.
With nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. KSL has teamed with 988 Utah, the free suicide and crisis lifeline, to bring you hope and help you thrive.
If you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
Because a healthy mind matters.
Looking for reliable home services you can actually count on?
I've got just the team for you. Mountain Home Services. They've been serving Utah since 1954 with honest, upfront pricing and zero hidden fees. Plus, they back every job with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. With summer heating up, now's the time to get your AC in shape. Mountain Home Services delivers fast, expert air conditioning service to keep your home cool and comfortable. And don't forget, they also handle electrical and plumbing work with the same trusted care. And here's the best part. KSL listeners get exclusive limited-time specials, but you have to call and ask. These deals won't last, so don't miss your chance to save. Call 801-543-2222 today and tell them KSL sent you. That's 801-543-2222 or visit mountainhomeservices.com. Get the service you need and the deal you deserve.
Imagine waking up every morning with a smile you're proud of. No more hiding, no more pain. Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's Best of State winner for 3 years in a row, has helped thousands of people ditch the dentures and say goodbye to missing or broken teeth. Their expert team specializes in giving you a permanent, natural-looking smile with dental implants that feel and function just like real teeth. With over 2,000 five-star Google reviews, their patients say it best.
Dental implants gave me my life back. I feel confident again. I feel like I can be myself.
There was no way I was getting dentures. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been the best decision of my life.
Let the expert team at Stubbs Dental help you take the first step to changing your life with dental implants. Schedule your complimentary consultation today, a $350 value, absolutely free. Visit StubbsDental.com today. That's StubbsDental.com. StubbsDental.com.
The most important part of all our news stories at KSL are the people involved. Introducing an expanded new news show. Listen to Midday with Maria Shilaos. Listen in your car between noon and 3 on KSL News Radio.
Summer. It's about vacation, lake days, maybe catching up on some sleep if you're lucky, but that's not all. Utah's First Lady Abby Cox would argue that summer is also about service. The Show Up initiative is having a summer service fair at Thanksgiving Point in Lehigh this afternoon. Cox joined Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on the new Inside Sources this morning. She says she wants to teach the younger generation how important service is in Utah.
It's an opportunity for over 60 nonprofits to be at Thanksgiving Point Electric Park. It's carnival atmosphere. It's lots of fun. There's lots of things for your families to come and do and have fun. But the biggest part of it is making sure that our families have an opportunity to serve with each of these different nonprofits throughout the summer. A lot of us are getting our kiddos home. School's out. It's time for us to really think about the importance of course, we want to keep our kids active. We want to keep them safe. And the best thing we can do is teach them that service is a big part of our state and the best thing they can do in the summer.
And Cox says volunteering is about showing up for others.
If we know there's a problem in our neighborhood, with our friends, with somebody in our congregation, we are really good at showing up. Sometimes we just don't know the needs. And there's a lot of times where families want to serve and don't know the best places. So this is such a great opportunity for us to connect families that want to serve with the nonprofits that have opportunities. So what we have there is, if you're really interested in helping refugees, there are refugee organizations. If you are really interested in helping with child welfare, there are child welfare organizations there. If you are interested in pets or animal welfare, there are those organizations there. If you are interested in packing food kits, weekend kits, summer kits for children in school districts, there are people there to help you to find a project there. So whatever your passions are, wherever you're interested, wherever your kids, you feel like they will make the biggest difference, that's where we are going to connect you with these incredible nonprofits. We have thousands of nonprofits throughout the state, and there will be 60 plus there tonight that you can connect with.
That's Utah's First Lady Abby Cox, who says it's important that Utahns learn about these nonprofits because that's what makes them more powerful.
When you're in a space where you know other people are doing this work, you're sharing best practices, you're sharing understandings, you're sharing sort of what the layout looks like in your space. And so that's a real profit, that we didn't expect. And what we're seeing is that we're powerful together, we're more powerful. And then what we do is expose these opportunities to families and individuals throughout the state that want to connect with them. And so to me, it's getting out there, finding who these people are, then connecting them with each other and with the people that are ready to serve.
And if you're interested in checking it out, the fair runs today 4 to 8 and tickets are free. In other news, they're arguably America's most well-known horses, the Budweiser Clydesdales, and this weekend they stopped off in Utah. Midday executive producer Andy Cupp has the story.
For nearly 100 years, the Budweiser Clydesdales have clomped around the country, becoming an integral part of the beer company's image and history. Even if you've never seen them in person, you can picture them. Their white noses, broad foreheads, their long arched necks, legs with full white feathering, the epitome of a stately appearance. And towing behind them, of course, the iconic red, white, and gold beer wagon. Did you know they originally came about to commemorate the repeal of Prohibition? In 1933, they toured around the East Coast, eventually stopping in Washington, D.C. to deliver one of the first cases of Budweiser to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Well, this weekend, the Clydesdale Hitch toured around the Wasatch Front, visiting downtown Salt Lake City, Lagoon Park, and even a Bees baseball game. Their visit to the state celebrates the 15th anniversary of partnering with Folds of Honor, a nonprofit group that provides scholarships to veterans as well as their spouses and children. The scholarships also go to first responders and their families. Over the past decade and a half, Budweiser and his partners have given more than $30 million to Folds of Honor, funding roughly 6,600 scholarships. Josie Points is a Clydesdale handler and came with him to Utah. She tells our partners at KSL5 TV that it's a special opportunity to travel the country with the majestic horses.
It's always my favorite part, to bring the joy to everyone else. It's the same thing I feel whenever I see him, and I get to work with him every single day.
Point says another thing she loves about the Clydesdales is
how kind they are. They're gentle enough that they can be pet by anyone that's 4 to 80.
On Saturday, the team of 8 horses took a lap around the ballpark at America First Square in daybreak, wowing Salt Lake Bees fans who had gathered for an evening game.
Now, please join us in raising your Budweisers to Folds of Honor.
Budweiser and parent company Anheuser-Busch gave the local chapter of Folds of Honor a $10,000 check to support educational scholarships here. For Midday, I'm Andy Cupp, KSL News Radio.
The Clydesdales have already left Utah and are continuing their nationwide tour, but if you ever want to see them up close, when they're not touring, you can find them at the Warm Springs Ranch in Boonville, Missouri. Thank you so much for joining me here on Midday. I'll be back tomorrow with even more news and deep dives into the voices of Utahns. Up next, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a great rest of your day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, 91 degrees in Salt Lake. KSL's top story, ABC News is reporting that a battalion of Marines is being mobilized to deal with the Los Angeles street protests. ABC reports 700 Marines are going to be sent into the streets. They'll stand alongside National Guard troops and local authorities. This deployment without the consent of California's governor. Now, we have no independent verification, but multiple outlets are now reporting about this mobilization. Asked about sending in the Marines, President Trump only said this morning, "We'll see." Meantime, the anti-ICE protests continue in Southern California. ABC's Melissa Aden is outside the federal courthouse in L.A., where the front lines are manned by the local police.